Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 154 of Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. My name is Greg. I am the Bad Daddy 52. The normal heroes aren't in the house tonight, but they'll be here shortly. But I am joined by Laurie Calcaterra. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so glad you decided to come back. You are the creator of Path of the Pale Rider. We covered the first issue in your Kickstarter for the first issue a few months back. You're back to talk about that and the Kickstarter for your second issue, and we are really glad to have you. So how are things going?
Things are going great. Issue number 1, for people that don't know it, we ran the campaign back in April. We closed out in May. We finished 116%, had like 107 backers, something. Really great. That was our first Kickstarter ever. And we're running a second one now for issue number 2. So we're kicking butt and taking names. We're about halfway through and we're at like 81% as of right now. So yeah, we're doing great. Come on, everybody, check it out.
Oh yeah, it's really good stuff. And you said you just had a big jump in it too. So I mean, y'all are 81% halfway there. So you got a lot of time to hit that goal. Hitting the 100% on the first Kickstarter is it's such an accomplishment. It's so crucial, because
it is.
I mean, it just really lets you know, like, I've got something here that people are genuinely interested in, and it makes you feel so much better about what you're creating. It motivates you to go, and you interact a lot of fans with your stuff anyway. So it's just really, really cool to have that. I'm really, really glad to hear y'all hit that 100%, on the first one. And it sounds like you're well on the way to 100% on the second one here. So
yeah, we're making our way. It kind of does the same thing every time. And for those of you that are interested in running a Kickstarter or don't know how they run, typically it's like you see the most on day 1 and day 2, you kind of like rocket right out of the gate. And then about 5-7 days into it, things really slow down. And it's kind of like all your returning people are in, it's like trickle in, but then you get like your new fans. That's what you're doing is you're out promoting, and then you got to meet new people, right? So as you meet the new people, it's like you'll have some slow times, you'll have some time. It's like some days you're like, wow, I can't get anybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And some days you're like, wow, I got like 6 people in a row, like woo. So it just, it's kind of what it does. And then towards the end, like the last 10 days, you're going to see a pickup as well. And then it's when you hit your goal and you start pushing towards those stretch goals so you can like enrich the experience. So yep, that's what it's doing. It's doing the same thing it always does. So we're following the trend.
That is awesome. Now we covered the first issue with you a few months ago, but I'm going to go ahead and put the stuff up here, and we'll just kind of let you scroll through it, and we can talk about it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet or doesn't know anything about it, because there may be new listeners. And just kind of talk about it, and we'll run through the comic.
Sure.
This one right here. Correct?
Yes, this is the right one. So this is kind of our image, and people, this means something. In fact, this is the answer to the question, but it's kind of like a spoiler with no context. I'm going to tell you what this means, but this is a pretty important image. But this is the image you're going to see whenever you see us. So the webpage, the Facebook groups, the Kickstarter, like if you're looking for us and you're not sure if it's us, if you see this, it's us. You know what I mean? This is kind of the image that goes on all the things. So this was issue number 1. So just a little background on our world for anybody that's not familiar. We are a Western apocalypse comic book series. In this world, the death process is broken. And what I mean by that is your body can die, but your soul or your energy, it doesn't leave your body upon that death moment of your body. So you get to hang out and you get to experience your own decay. So your brain is rotting in your skull. So you get to experience like memory loss and violence and indifference, and it hits everybody differently. It just depends on how your body dies. So it's a really chaotic place, and it's not just for people. I love this cover because it's silly. It's like, this could be an angry mob. It could also be, they're kind of coming at you to ask you about your car's extended warranty. Because it's like, in my world, you don't get the angry zombie. You don't get the flesh eating zombie. It's like, it's me, it's you, it's your uncle, your mom, your neighbor. You know what I mean? And you're still yourself. So this is a great grisly cover, and I love it. But they're all sneezing because they have allergies or something, because it's not animals are affected as well. So One of the big meanies in this comic is a large black bear named Big James that lives on this road that we encounter. So animals, insects, plants, fish, bacteria, whatever, everything. Nothing gets to leave. Nothing gets to rest. There is no transition. I love this cover too. So anyway, so we're 10 years into the apocalypse when the story starts, and you get a real good like Walking Dead or Book of Eli feel here. And that's kind of what we're going for, like Fallout 4, going through the apocalypse. And you're going to see black and white pages, and you're also going to see some color pages. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But I mean, Marco does such great work.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This page is really cool because it shows what people wear in this world. We call it a disc, and what they're tapping is this thing that they're wearing on their chest that will amplify their heartbeat. So it's a government issue device that everybody wears, where it's like if you're alive and you tap it, the screen turns green, the heartbeat goes across, and there's a speaker that will activate and emit your heart rate. You know what I mean? So you can hear it and you can see it. And if they're undead, there's no heartbeat, it turns red, it flatlines, and then you hear like the flatline alarm that you hear from, like hospital dramas.
Right.
So there's moments where it's quiet and beautiful still in this world. And then of course it's immediately disrupted by something that's out to eat you. So we have the pack of wolves here, which of course they run off into the middle of the night, and Jude calls them a bunch of chicken shits because they ran. The next morning he's tired. He talks to this lady. He's looking for Santa Claus. And she's like, aren't you a little old to believe in Santa Claus?
Right.
And he's like, I'm looking for the town of Santa Claus and a guy named Dwayne Fink. And she's like, I have no idea where they are, but if you follow the road, there's a town up there, but the name has been lost. So she doesn't, no one knows the name of the roads anymore at this point because it's already gone. It's dilapidated. We're basically devolved back to the Wild West. Has this cute little moment with this little girl. He kind of gives her a little secret where he's like, my horse's name is Diana Prince, and I named her after a warrior woman who protects the human race. So yes, Jude reads DC Comics in my world.
There you go. nice little Easter egg there. I liked it.
Right. And the horse, if you look at the picture, she has a star on her forehead. So that's kind of why Jude called her that. So goes on the road. They have a conversation, him and this horse, about whether they should go. It's pretty obvious there's a bear up there, but they've done stuff like this before, so they make the decision to go. He gives her a pair of shoes and says, happy early birthday, so he treats her like a person, she's his companion, not just his transportation. They go around this corner, find this glass. He makes a stupid decision to pull it out of this hand, goes diving for it.
And we did learn last time this shot glass has some significance, correct?
It does. When he looks at it in this 1, 2, 3, 4th panel, it's a map of Las Vegas. Dun dun dun. We'll just leave it at that.
There you go.
So he has this kind of moment like, that was dumb. Like, that was stupid. Like I shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. But again, he was up all night. He's tired and he's probably not making the best decisions. They go around this corner and see these birds eating a dead bear. And of course, now they're extra quiet. He guides Prince over this dead bear because at this point, it's like either go over the bear or go home, right? Or go back.
Right.
So they decide to go forward, have this like real close call and like brief moment of reprieve that, oh my gosh, we made it. And then of course the horse trips and out comes this glass that he stopped to pick up and oh sugar, it breaks, right? And now the bear is awake.
Oh yeah.
So you've read the rest of the issue, yes?
I have, yes. Yeah, I was gonna say, actually it's funny because I actually read it not too long earlier today, but then I'd read it before whenever we'd done it again, and since the last time I'd forgotten about the next moment with the bear, and I remembered the bear, but I forgotten about the next moment, and I was like, oh no. So it was definitely like, oh, okay.
I know.
So anything that's killed in this world by something that is possessed by or that is infected with this disease, then would get it.
Nope.
But if
Nope.
Okay.
It's anybody at any time they die. Anything, any animal, any insect, any person. You could die of cancer. You could get hit by a car. You could get eaten by a bear. Even though your body's dead,
no one's necessarily safe. at all.
No one is safe, and there is no escape. Like, you could get burnt up to a pile of bones, and you are still here.
You almost have to look at it as just that's the way things are in the future. Like that's the second part of your life, period. So
yeah, which makes it really interesting though, because at some point you are going to get to see like the fall of society. You'll get to see like how it all started, right? You won't know the why necessarily, but you'll get to see when it starts and like how people are acting. And like some people are like going to shoot the zombies in the head because they think that's how they get rid of them.
Classic way to kill a zombie, right?
Right. And of course, it just makes them all the more unpredictable because they have less of their brain to use. So it's like it's hard. You know what I mean? And then people start getting separated. So the living versus the dead, because the dead start being so chaotic. It's a rather difficult place to navigate. Government gets involved. They start separating people forcefully. So then you have these ethical questions like, yeah. Thank you. It's different, you know? But let me pose you a question. Do you have kids, Greg?
I do.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
2.
You have 2 kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were in this world and one of your children was undead and they were coming to get them? Just one, not both, one.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what would you do I have no idea what to do in that situation.
What would you do if you were undead and your kids were both alive and they were coming to get you, take you out?
I'd probably leave. I mean, I'd leave with them, right? Just for the sake of my kids. But I mean,
you would go on the run, right?
Yeah.
Probably you and your kids. But like, so this is the situation that's posed to everybody. And when they start separating us, like, do you hide them in your house? Do you pretend they don't exist for a long time? And there's like an anonymous phone number that, you know, people can call and be like, my neighbor's undead, come pick them up, you know? So it's like,
So the undead aren't necessarily evil.
No.
They're just undead.
Correct.
So it could be something you could just learn to live with.
Well, eventually they're going to go crazy. There's no doubt about it because their brain is literally turning into mush. So at first it's like, yes, exactly. It's like him putting it in the closet and hoping it would just be okay. Like she would recognize me, right? Just, you know, but it's like, they forget who you are. You know what I mean? Or they don't care about being alive anymore. So let's say there's an undead person in your neighborhood and they like drive their car over someone because they just, oh, well, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? What's up, Ross?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, goodbye.
Let's do that time. There we go. I'm back. I'm here.
Hello.
Love the threads too, man. Got the new stuff?
A little bit.
All right. Well, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt there, Lori. Ross, join the show. We're just going through the first comic here. She's going to start talking about the second one here in a moment. And then she's going to stay with us for the show. So she's caught up on everything except for Lower Decks. So
sweet,
she's with us for the long haul. Yeah.
Yeah, I like hanging out and talking about the things.
We got plenty of them to talk about, that's for sure.
And I was like, these are all the shows I'm watching anyway. So
deterioration,
that's the name of the game. But again, we as humans would try to tackle that, right? So like those discs are technology. They're hackable. So in my world, people hack them. So you can have an undead walking around with a hacked disc that trying to pass as human for longer because they don't want to be separated. Or they're trying to embalm themselves. Like they're doing things to try and combat their deterioration.
Right.
Because we're people and that's how what
everybody would do if they had the opportunity. Yeah.
If they had the opportunity to. Right. So that's kind of the world this is. Cody,
what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Sorry, how was the free for all?
Oh, it was fine, man. It was a good show, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're hopping in, man. We're just finishing up a Path of the Pale Rider here. I don't know if you saw you in the chat room. I don't know if you were listening to the concept of the
I've been adjusting my microphone, so I've not been all the way in, but don't let me interrupt. Please continue.
Okay.
Put that comment up. That's really funny.
Right.
If Bernie was actually like conscious, but yeah, that's like what it's like. It's really funny. Also, really devastating though. Hey, Sarah.
Goodness, crowded now. What's up, Sarah?
Everybody showed up.
Sorry, I was late to the party. My apologies.
The cave is full. All right, so continue, Laura. I'm sorry.
that's the concept. It's a wild place. We're 10 years into the apocalypse where things have devolved. So issue number 1, we got to see Jude in the wild. We got to see him make decisions and kind of learn who he was, and then the consequences that he had to deal with from waking up this big James the Undead Bear. It wasn't happy. So be prepared.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to share a different screen here?
Yeah. What about the Kickstarter one?
I can do that.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're almost there for your second issue, aren't you?
What's that?
Yeah, you're almost there for your second issue.
Yeah. We got less than 1,000 left to go. We're at like 81% right now. So we're like just shy of halfway through. So yeah, we're doing real well. But we do a lot of stuff, which is cool. So these are kind of the updates. I stick them up front. We're gonna come back to those. So here's issue number 2. This is the A cover by Marco DeFillo, who's the he always does the A cover, and he does like the interior work, and it's just absolutely fabulous. So his cover always tells you something about what's happening in that issue. So again, like a spoiler with no context, it's like Jude stomping on a guy with a smoking gun, and the bear's in the background, and some mysterious figure. So once you read the issue, you'll understand what this all is. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, here he is going to Santa Claus. Which makes me laugh that this place is called Santa Claus. It's a real place, by the way, in Arizona. So some of these people are backers from the last campaign that we drew their likeness into the comic.
Okay,
nice.
So some of these
always
zombies,
more fan interaction there. I like it.
yeah. But it just kind of shows you like what a crap place this is. Like Jude showing up, and it's like living only, all dead hang, and they're freaking staking people in there, and they're putting zombies from, rope. And again, if these zombies are conscious at some, this one's asking for help. They use them as freaking signage, like go this way to the saloon, which is messed up.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of go briefly through this. So we're not going to read the whole thing. He goes in, the bartender says hello to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for some guy named Dwayne Fink. He has important information. Bartender's like, it's your lucky day. Dwayne Fink's right over there. And it's, of course, this guy who's slamming his beer down and sitting with his people, and they're talking nonsense. Like, he's like, so let me get this straight. The man of gold found the fountain of youth. And he's like, no, gold lives forever because he snared death. And he starts drinking more beer and spilling his beer on this dude over here, and starts telling people that this man of gold is 102. And then, of course, here's this color page, which is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's gorgeous. That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So last issue went out in black and white. Last issue, we fulfilled our campaign. We had a color stretch goal. We didn't quite get to it. I think we were like $800 short. So not too far. But it was more important to us to like get the issue out and get people reading and familiar, with the story and where we're going, what we do. So this time I wanted Marco to color more pages so you guys can see what he's capable of. Mm-hmm. So that way, when I say like, here's our goal, but here's our color stretch goal, that's where we want to go, right? Because this page versus this page, big difference. Not that this is bad. You know what I mean? This is still great. His line work is beautiful. He does great work, but geez, man, it just brings it to life.
Throwing that color in there really, really does give it a nice pop.
Yeah. And something about the color palettes that he chooses, it's nothing that I would ever dream of putting on a page.
Mm-hmm.
As greens and like yellows and maroons and browns. And I'm just like, I don't know.
A lot of earth tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it just works, Oh,
yeah.
Anyway, so Jude is watching this guy make an idiot of himself, screaming about the wrath of God is upon us, and the man of gold knows where death is, and then spills his beer on this dude again, and then falls off the table. Gets put in the drunk tank, and this last little panel where the bartender's like, "Are you sure this is the guy, the important guy you're looking for?"
Right.
And Juice is kind of like, yep, that's the guy. Like the things I have to do to get information. And he's like, what's that? He's like, oh, never mind. So he's cooking up something. So you'll have to read the rest to find out what happens. It gets pretty wild.
Yeah.
So there's me, there's Marco, who's like much prettier than I am. like scary Laurie, and then like at least one of us looks friendly. Yeah.
I love this cover right here.
Variant covers. So this is the David Rodriguez cover with the dead Jude behind bars. Red disc. It's a bad look for Jude. This was our Christmas cover. It's a Charlie Brown Christmas tree we decorated in zombie parts.
Nice.
This one makes me laugh because it's very unwelcoming and it says "Welcome to Santa Claus." It's just the guy that did this, Everett Watkins, amazing artist. He usually draws a young adult series called Boog the Outcast, which is like elfin figures and like large insects and like forescapes. And he was doing this one. He's like, "Laurie?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm grossing myself out." I was like, "Well, that's how you know it's the right amount of gore, right?"
Then it's good. That's right.
It's amazing. Like that's
when
amazing.
the puke is authentic.
Yes, the puke is authentic. You know it's done right.
Oh God.
Well, if you can gross yourself out, then you know somebody else who's not expecting what you already have in your mind should be as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, goal accomplished.
I was like, Everett, way to go. This is Professor Richness is a friend of mine. He's actually Rich Parada, who used to ink for Marvel and DC back in the 90s. And he's actually a professor in the UK at an art institute. So he did this one. It is going to be in color. He's just putting the last touches on it, and then I'll update the Kickstarter. But yeah, So this is kind of a telling image as well. It's like he's in a saloon at a card table. I wonder what's going to happen. And then this one we just released. It's the Ken Salinas cover with his voodoo style. Really cool. I don't know. Is it too soon? Is it too soon, Greg, with the prints? With the stuffing coming out? I don't know.
No, it's cool. I mean, that was issue 1 anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're already in issue 2. He's forgotten about all that. Yeah.
So that one made me laugh. It's got some stretch goals. Hunter backers, I'm going to release the blooper reel to this short film. It's pretty funny. Greg got to watch it. I didn't really talk about that. So every issue that we do, we release a short film and a riddle. So we have like a few moving parts to each comic. So the comic is like the main story, the meat and the potatoes, but the world is so big that we explore other stuff that happens that maybe Jude just doesn't see because he's not there. So the short film we did for this issue was a news reel where I was interviewing people and they were telling me what they thought broke the death process. And I didn't give anybody any ideas. They just said whatever was on the top of their head. And it was really funny. We had like McDonald's and sugar and someone said Anthony Fauci, organic yogurt. Someone said Jesus. Like it's all over the map. And it's really funny to see these people just like talk crazy. And then if you stick around for the end, you can see me get run over by a car.
Which is pretty crazy. It's
fun.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Do you want to see me get run over by a car, guys?
How can we not see it now?
I know. I was like, I kind of hyped it up. So let's do it. All right. It's like, yeah. Okay. Where is it?
You've got my attention.
I know. Well, let's go from here. This is good. Like this one, these ones are the funny ones right here. Okay. So good.
Crazy this stuff. Is cool fan interaction here.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
I don't know why the dead don't fucking die. Look at me. Look at me. Put the phone.
And there you have it. We've spent all day asking people what they think. There's some truly wild accusations out there, and let me say, we really have no idea.
Oh.
Go to commercial.
There you have it.
The first time she showed me that, I was like, wow, that's pretty good CGI. Like, I don't know how you did that. I know some people you should contact to do some.
No, that was a real stunt. We did that.
Yeah, that was a real stunt. That was crazy. Like,
nice.
Yeah.
My husband was like, "You want me to what? Are you over with the car?"
I'm gonna need you to put that on a recording. I'm gonna need backup.
Mm-hmm. Sign this out.
Right. Yep. Sign this document that says you really said that.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to see that one, that's the one for this issue. If you go all the way to the bottom, I have the one for the first campaign as well. So you can see that. And then this is kind of an example of the first riddle that's on the back cover of the issue. And actually, if you have a physical copy of the first issue, the way to solve this is inside the issue. So I gave everybody this. Huh?
Did somebody actually solve the puzzle before you unveiled it?
This one?
Yeah.
Before I unveiled it. Well, I always beta test them. I send them to a few people and I'm like, solve this. Just to make sure that it's solvable, because sometimes I'm like, this is fine, and people are like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? Then you got to go change it. So this one was actually pretty difficult. There's only like, I want to say 7 people that have solved it so far.
Nice.
But I gave people a way to solve it. Like, I've been telling people how to do it. And then there's another way to solve the riddle and get to the place. That's all I'm going to say. There's another way to do it, people, which you'll see with this campaign. So yeah, but it's like on the inside, it's like if you see keys or you see like skulls, hands pointing different directions, like this one has a key for that thing. So if you take off this little piece of red and you run it down the side of the comic, the blue letters that are underneath pop out, and it gives you instructions of how to find the answer.
That's awesome. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have not released the second riddle onto anything social media. Like people have seen it. Like I've kind of put it on the screen and then take it off real quick, because when I beta tested that, everybody solved it. So I was like, okay, it's a good one. It'll be fun, but I'm not ready to put it out because people are going to start solving it and want the interaction, and it's not ready. It's ready. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But that one is really cool. Like this one sends you to a place. That one you get to interact with a character. So when you solve it, it triggers something, and then you interact with the character. Like I have plans for like phone numbers to call, websites that you can hack, sending to a podcast that's like a recording of the collectors collecting people. I have one where it'll send you to like a YouTube page where we'll teach you how to hack a disc. It's just like this rabbit hole that you can fall into, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys like riddles, it's going to be fun to play. Come along for the ride. So
the half-dead scavenger hunt.
Yeah, pretty much that. Like I want to figure out if I can do like a geocaching or something like that to send people to a physical place where it's like there's something there. Just real quickly on the rewards, we have everything from like $5 up to I think $200. The $500 one is gone. But we have digital, we have a catch-up tier, we have a zombie starter pack where it's like you can get issue 1 of the Path of the Pale Rider plus some other indie zombie comic books. So Raise and Avalon are also contributor PDF to the campaign, which is really cool. We have physical copies for, single, where you can get any one of the variants. You can always add on an additional if you want. Winner Chicken Dinner is a popular one because this is the catch-up one for both digital and physical. The Nat Special is where you start getting signed copies. Choose your own path. So last time when I was doing the campaign, a lot of people, because of how deep the world goes, were asking for a choose your own adventure. So I wrote one.
Okay.
So the choose your own path, you get issue number 2. You get you get a digital and a signed copy of issue number 2. And you also get this one, which is a choose your own path volume number 1. So you actually get to like put on the boots, put on the hat, and you get to run bounty in the wasteland as if you were in Path of the Pale Rider. It's 60 pages with some really gruesome deaths, and nobody has survived as of yet.
That is a really, really cool concept. I like that. Look,
so it's fun. So again, another level of like interaction where you can be in the world and you can kind of experience what it's like. If you do get all the way to the end, you're going to see lots of interesting things. Some of these characters are in the main arcs. You're going to see them later on in the story. Yeah, you might even see an undead bear. Who knows?
Laurie, you are truly creating a universe. Like it's crazy, like a complete universe people can get enthralled in. And I love the artwork. I love the concept. I love the storyline. You got everything going for you. The fan interaction. Seriously, folks, go check this out. Get in on the ground floor because this is a great thing to be a part of. And like I said, just the extra things you have, the riddles, this choose your own path deal. It's cool to see somebody so passionate about their work. I love seeing people who are passionate about their work, and this is a really, really fun story.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything? Laurie, was there anything else you wanted to add to this? If you want to, you can drop the link to your Kickstarter in the YouTube chat. We got a few people in there now, but I'll put it in the show notes as well.
I'll drop the link for you guys. We got, I'll just throw in the last couple of things. We got metal covers. We have, this is a secret level. Please go read it. It's kind of twisted. I'm not going to let people share these on social media because they're messed up. Skip that. And then we have Funko Pops. We have a Jude St. Clair Funko Pop. That's this level here. That was, we had done for the first campaign. And then I only did one of them, not expecting people to be too excited, and everybody wanted one. So I opened it up for the freaking campaign. And then we making a BJ the Undead Bear as this campaign's Funko Pop, but someone already grabbed it. That's this one, and it's all gone. So this one gets like everything in the kitchen sink.
You said Funko Pop, and I saw Sarah perk up real quick. She's like, huh?
Yeah, you're speaking my language in some ways.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
So what we did last time is there's a white box version of these, and that's the one that the backer got. So she gets the one and only white box collectible one. I have a brown box. Marco and I have these two, which are the creator series, and then everybody else gets an orange box. But these are really nice. Like,
that is nice.
Can you? And we can take that down. Can you embiggen me so I can show the people's? Embiggen.
Oh no.
Or just make her disappear.
I removed you on accident. There we go.
That works so great. Thank you, Greg.
So how do you go about getting a custom Funko Pop made like that?
You got to start your own Westworld like she does.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to know people. No, this wonderful studio called Unique Concepts. This little sticker is over here with the little UFO. It's awesome. So yeah, it's like he took the concept from Jude, and he has his machete, he has his cowboy hat, his boots, he has a disc on. I can try and show you with the angle and the light. He has a disc. He's got all his packs and like shoulder pads and knee pads and everything. Like everything that we had on this character is on this pop, which is amazing. You know, and it looks like a legit box. It's designed just like they do them, but it has like the A cover of the issue on it. So the next one will be Big James the Bear. It'll have the A cover of issue number 2. It'll be number 2. And then of course it'll have all the pictures, the pop pictures updated to Big James. So it's going to be a lot. And the guys in our fan group, he's super excited. He keeps, asking me like, so he can get his materials ready and stuff, because he's like, all I do is I do a bunch of these for wedding season. So I do like brides and grooms. He's like, oh, I want to make bears. I understand, sir, but they're super cool. Him and his wife
are the big Funko Pop. You need the big bear. It is the big bear.
That is my dream, to have my own Funko Pop. That is my dream.
If you want his information, I'll be happy to send it to you. He can do it. He can do it, Sarah.
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic, because I have so many, it's like ridiculous. So,
he can make you of you. You just got to send him pictures of yourself and he'll do it.
Do one for each of the cosplays. There you go.
I put the link in the private chat.
Okay. I'm going to just copy it, and I'm actually going to put it in the, if you don't mind, I'll put it in the chat room for the people that are in there right now.
Please do. So if people, you can go click around and see what level works for you. And again, if you just want to read this story, spend the $7 and get the PDFs, by all means. You know what I mean? Or you can do the choose your own adventure level. I opened that up for everybody. I had a limit on that one. I recently partnered with a publisher, Charter Comics, and they're local to me. I'm north of Dallas. Cody in a cowboy hat.
That's what Tony's saying we need to make one Cody in a cowboy hat. Yeah.
You'll fit right in my world. Sir. Just put a hat on, right?
In a cowboy hat, which is funny.
Yes, I've been talking my 3D printer for a while there, Tony. I'm gonna get it though eventually. Maybe it's
I bet you could. 3D print these. They probably have like the blank on like Thingiverse or something,
Oh, when I get my 3D printer, I'm gonna be making so much stuff. It's gonna be crazy. Like I'm gonna look like the Collector, like from the Marvel Universe in my room. It's gonna be nuts. So
can I buy some more shelves?
And that is true. That is true. The main character does look like Cody a little bit.
Cody, you could cosplay Jude St. Clair.
There you go.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
down. I mean, Halloween's right around the corner. I'd love that. That'd be cool.
What you need to do is just change Jude's look just enough so that you can change his Funko Pop, so we can keep buying them, because that's how the Funko Pop addiction works, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Well, that's
like
gotta have everyone.
So it's like different versions.
Yes,
This
and
one,
that's
his hand is
kinda
like
how you play the
this.
game. But so in this campaign, like I'm doing max of 50. I'm not ordering 50. It's max of 50. These unfortunately are kind of more expensive merch. So if you don't order in the Kickstarter, there isn't an opportunity to buy it off my website. So it could just be as exclusive as one of 3 or one of 5. It just depends on how many people order them. So it could be way more exclusive, you know what I mean, than one of 50. And then we're not running that design ever again. If we run Jude again, we'll do something like take off his shoes. You know, we're on half face undead Jude, like in the variant cover, something like that. So you know, there's different ways we can present Jude, but we won't be doing the same design twice.
Okay.
So if you're a Funko Pop collector, you got to go get it from the Kickstarter if you want it, because I can't afford to print a bunch of these.
Super exclusive though. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Laurie, did you want to share this this video we have down here? The
Yeah, so this is kind of a sneak peek of what's coming, and it's kind of fitting because it's almost Halloween.
Oh, let me start it. Did you start it or did I?
I did not touch it.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready to start it and I'll do it. Sorry.
Go right on ahead.
Okay. Sorry. New to this producing thing.
That's it.
And you said there's a clue in there, huh?
Yeah, there's a clue in there. It's just kind of like what's coming, and it's just supposed to make you feel uneasy. Yes. Now you are all under my control.
Now you drop the link for the Kickstarter.
All right.
Yeah,
now you must
watch that
back
video.
Kickstarter. Everybody's like, must back Kickstarter.
Well, Laura, like I said, I love the concept. I wasn't trying to cut you off earlier. I apologize. I was trying to.
No, you're fine.
But I do love the concept. This is really, really cool. And we got all the information here. I hope that people go check it out. It sounds like you're well on the way to hitting the goal for the second Kickstarter as well, which I'm very confident you will.
Thank you.
But folks, participate, join. She's very fan interactive as well. So you never know. You may see yourself in a comic or in a video, in a movie she's making one day if you want to contribute. So. But I appreciate you coming on.
Their podcast gave us his social security number from the brainwashing.
There you go. I like it.
Thank you.
C3. That's kind of like that tongue twister Cody CK out on the show the other day. C3 3 days a week, something like that. So yeah.
C3 3 days a week.
Yeah. See, now we're all saying it. That thing did work.
The brainwashing, man, it does it to us.
Well,
C3 3 days in a row.
There you go. That was it.
Yeah, I knew. He was messing me up with it last Tuesday or whatever it was, but I think I got it.
All right. Well, Laurie,
how many days left did you have on the Kickstarter? I didn't see it.
15.
15?
16. We're at 16, we
okay.
have 16 days as of today. Yeah.
All right.
So we're just about halfway. Well, I just remember one last thing. So if we get, I had this high stretch goal of like $12,000 that if we were to get there, I would put on a red dress and go smash pumpkins on Halloween. And then the guy that did the black and white cover, he was like, well, I'll double down on that. If you get to 15,000, I'll put on a red dress and I'll smash pumpkins too. And so he's like, we were talking yesterday, Tuesday. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna drop my stretch goal down to 6,000. And I said, I'll double down on that. So people, it's very achievable. If we get to 6,000, I will smash pumpkins with a sledgehammer, dressed like I'm going to prom. And nice. Professor Richness will go full drag, blonde wig, and makeup, and probably some stuff in a bra. I don't know. And then
gotta wear heels.
He will wear heels. I will also
Gotta
wear heels. But I have a few machetes and possibly a sledgehammer, so it could be any combination of
there you go.
4. And I'm just gonna smash the hell out of some pumpkins on Halloween because that's fun. So
you want Gallagher? You got Gallagher.
It's always fun to smash.
I was like, we need to bring Gallagher back. I think I could do this on my TikTok and get some views.
Mix it in with Devil in a red dress on Halloween, and you got it.
There you go. See, there you go. So yeah, like Gallagher, we're gonna smash some fruits and vegetables and have some fun. So, but we got to get to $6,000, which is doable. We got to 5,200 last time. So 6. If we get to 6, then we can get to 65 and hit that color goal.
There you go. Oh. Going for the color goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
That's
idea.
what we're doing.
Well, Lori, I love it, and
Thanks.
keep me posted on it. I'm gonna try to keep up with it and see what's going on. If I can scrounge a few bucks, if I might even buy me some of that apparel there you got there, and then give me a copy of it. I meant to last time, and I still can. I just
you can still get the ketchup.
Yeah.
What, Sarah?
Definitely want to catch up.
I've already found them, so I'm like,
Yeah. Well, it comes with other stuff too, so you're getting a good deal there.
I saw that. That's fantastic. But like I said, the weight of my heart is a pop.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I know when she got that $500 level, like I put it up there and it was our first Kickstarter, so it was kind of like just the stuff at the wall, the school would stick. And I put it up there and I was just like, no one's gonna get this. It's so expensive, And when the second person got it, our second backer, it just went like it was gone, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm paying attention, And then it got shipped to me so I could put it in with her other stuff and ship it to her, and I was like, why didn't I order myself one of these? Total regret. So I was talking to the creator, and he was just like, if you want one, I'll make one for you. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I need one of these. And then Marco was like, I want one too. I'm like, okay.
I love it. Love the success. And you definitely, when you have something like that, you've always got to keep one for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
like I'm looking forward to those metal covers. Like I've never had a metal cover before of anything. So it's like, it'd be really cool to have first metal cover be my own comic.
That is awesome.
The Choose Your Own Adventure book is going to be awesome. It's going to look great. And there's kind of an inside joke on that. If you've read the first comic and you know what happens at the end, when you fold the picture, there's the guy with the horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the head goes on the horse's head goes on the back.
Oh yeah.
So when you close it, it looks like there's no horse head. Just throw that out there.
Your creations are full of surprises.
I didn't do that one. That was Marco.
You got to examine these comics.
I blame him for that one. He was like, I did that on purpose. And I was like, it's like, people are going to think we hate horses. We don't.
What you've done is you've empowered other people now to think like you, and you are now in Inception.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Marco.
Well,
it's been imbibed with my sixth sense of humor. Whoa. Sorry.
No, you're good. Well, do y'all want to hop into some shows?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you got a ton we could talk about. Let's do that.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Well, let's start with, like we have been lately. We've been starting with House of the Dragon. Y'all want to hop into that one first?
Oh.
Cody says yes. Well, I always start with Cody. Cody's my man. I know this is his show. So, Cody, let's get you started with this one. I'm completely caught up, unlike last week.
Okay.
So,
well, hold on. Before we... Okay. Since you missed the last two, give me, Ross, Sarah, and Laura, your thoughts of everything you saw in the past two episodes. You don't have to do like a full breakdown, but just like an overview before we start.
Where's the rundown? I want the rundown on my desk.
okay.
Yeah.
Give me the rundown.
You know what a rundown is?
I'll go last.
Yeah. Call my dad for that. Okay, so last one was when I was trying to catch up, it was the first episodes of the new actors. I don't mind any of the new actors. I like them. They work for me. It took me a minute to kind of get out of it, to kind of get back into the new actors of these characters, but they work for me. Especially now that I've been 3 episodes with them, it's like, okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
It was really cool, actually, and I kind of liked it that you guys talked about it, so I almost knew what was going to happen. And I was telling you all this the other day, Cody. It was like listening to an audiobook, and in my head, I'm picturing what's happening, and then I see it put on film, and I actually get to see what the other person. It was like with the Sandman. I read the book, and then I get to see what somebody else has the idea of what it looks like, and it was really cool because I know it's coming, or I know this is going to happen eventually, and I'm like, okay, how are they going to get to this point? Because I know what happens, and everything worked well. I'm not gonna lie, knowing what I knew, it seemed like stuff was rushed. Because like Vagar, is that the dragon?
Vagar.
Like you talked about that for a while, but the actual scene where he goes to him and like convinces him he can be his dragon is really quick. Like it almost was like, wow, that's pretty easy to convince a dragon that it's your dragon. You know? Like, he didn't really do a whole lot. Oh yeah, I did too. Well, I mean, I knew he wasn't because I had been told.
Right.
But I mean, had I not known that, I probably thought he was too. Because this show does have stakes.
He's blonde, man. Dragons have things for blondes. I
guess,
can't figure it out.
But that was the only thing about it. I was like, they didn't really like they went real quick with that, and maybe it's just time constraint. I'm not sure. And then the other thing that I was waiting to see was the Corlys' son. What was her first husband's name? The one who was gay. Yeah, Lenore. Yeah, I knew he died. Yeah, and then we spoke about how whether that was something they planned or not. And after watching it, yes, I think it's definitely something they planned and did out together. I think that was something she gave him because of what they had been through together. And this is my gift to you. You let me go do my thing. You go do your thing, and we'll make it all work. So after hearing y'all debate about that, I'm definitely on that side of it. It was definitely planned by all of them. It was no accident. So, but I loved him, man. It was fun catching up because it was like watching a movie, watching 2 episodes back to back. And then after I watched this episode, I'm like, okay, I want some more. I'm really hooked on the show now. Like I'm the first few episodes, I'm learning the characters and I'm getting into it. Now it's like I know all the characters. I know who's here and who's here. I know what's going on. And now I have a 20-year knowledge of basically what's happened in this show in the last 20 years. So I feel like I know a lot. But I'm really enjoying it. Hate that I missed those 2 episodes when they came out, but I'm glad that I'm finally caught up now.
Well, I think that's kind of the benefit of doing the time jump. And I understand it's jarring to a lot of people for them to jump so many years and then you're like, wait a minute, how much time has passed? But again, if you're a book nerd like me and you've read Fire and Blood, so much of the story takes place with these characters when they are younger. And you have to tell these parts of the story, but at the same time, kind of fill some gaps in between. And I think they did a good job in doing that. The characters, especially the final time that they do the age jump, it's the final one that they do, and it's the biggest one that they do. So now all of the children are all grown up. And dude, all of Allison's children are a bunch of weirdos, bro. And I love that about them.
Yep.
Like Aegon does not want to be king. Like this dude literally just wants
he wants to live his life.
Yeah, man. And he's not, and look, like he's not a very good dude either. I mean, in this past episode, he literally forces himself on one of the handmaidens, and his mother is just like, God, why does this mean nothing to you? And it's so frustrating to her because you see from the moment that Otto kind of tells Allison a few episodes ago, listen, Rhaenyra will put your children to the sword, and you need to know that. And ever since then, Allison has become a key player in the quote-unquote Game of Thrones. And the stakes are very high. There was an attempted coup this episode. Like, if Viserys hadn't walked back into the throne room, the plan was Alicent and Otto, they were going to say, okay, fine, yeah, you're right. Viserys is not the, is it Viserys? I forget which one.
His brother.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Viserys is no longer the heir to Driftmark. And I love the moment because no matter what you think about Viserys, there have been moments where he has stepped up to the plate in a very big way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved it, man. The scene gave me goosebumps. And one of the things I found out after the show had aired was that whole scene where he's walking up to the throne and the crown falls off his head. And then Daemon walks up, grabs the crown, and helps him back up the throne. That was all improvised between Paddy Considine and Matt Smith, the actors to play both of them. So, dude, that was just a chef's kiss.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an
Beautiful.
awesome scene.
Well, the best part about
right.
that spot right there was just the entire show. You've seen Viserys offering him his hand, offering him help, and he's always rejecting it. And now it's the roles reversed, where Daemon's going to offer his help, and it's just like, wow, okay, full circle with that. I liked it.
Yeah, he's still they're still brothers. They still love each other, even though Viserys looks like the freaking crypt keeper at this point.
Oh my
God.
Time has not been kind to him.
I said that last week on a show. I was like, next week there's gonna come back, and Viserys is gonna be like a piece of beef jerky. Like, I hate being right.
He said that he couldn't even watch the episode, like with
so
his
gross.
character.
Quite honestly, it's like a character from your comic. It's almost like he's just watching himself deteriorate from, and having to live through it.
100%. That's what happens. And look what happened at the end because of how deteriorated he was and the chaos that it causes. So that's spot on, Greg.
Well, no matter how decrepit, he did his final flex. And that was just, oh my gosh, that was.
And can I say this about Vaemon Valerian? I believe that's his name. Nobody, I'm great with the names on this show.
That's it.
Dude, even I'm having a hard time. But Vaemon, Corlys's brother, how dumb do you have to be, man? Because look, even if you don't get your way in this episode, it's not like Alicent isn't going away. It's not like Otto Hightower is going away. Dude, all you had to do was shut up. But yet instead, you decide to call the heir to the Iron Throne, call not only her children bastards, but straight up call her a whore in front of the whole court. Like, dude.
Yeah.
I love it too. Damon's like, say it.
Did.
Exactly. Damon threw it out like, go there. It's like, mess around, see what happens.
I dare you.
What a nice moment. There he was like, he can keep his tongue.
I know that was so
savage.
Dude, you know how badass of a warrior you have to be? He knew that his tongue would still be intact because that's how precise of a swordsman he is and how sharp the sword Dark Sister is. Dude, and I love how Otto calls the guards like, unhand him. And then Damon's like, nope, hey, I'm fine. I'm chill.
Right.
And just,
Let me see here.
Hey, I'm fine. Nothing wrong here.
So at the end of last episode, I know y'all had spoken about, like, you see definite lines formed. Like, they're drawing lines in the sand. You see one side and the other. And then there's a 6-year jump, and it shows that time does heal some things. It seems like almost at the end of this episode, it's a coming together, not just because of the forced dinner, but of Alicent and Renea are coming back together as maybe it's time to end this feud type thing,
But
They
aren't
were
all
trying so
feuds
hard.
ultimately started on, it's not really a truth, it's almost kind of like a half truth, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's the build-up, right? I mean, the whole point is that
exactly.
the patriarch of the family is, coming out to actually say something when he tries to actually bind everyone together, and they're like, you know what? It makes sense. And then, of course, the flip side of the coin at the very end of the episode is like, no, we're going back and being enemies. So,
Well, it's so hard when you got someone who's just not coherent anymore, saying stuff that was taken completely out of context. He didn't even know who he was talking to at that point. He's moments before death, and now she's just gonna run with it.
To me, damn Aegon.
I know. Like the prince that was promised, not this guy that faps out the window, guys. That's not him.
dude. Pardon my French, but Aegon's such a fuck boy.
Yeah,
Like, he's literally at the table the entire dinner, like, hey, I know you're never gonna know a good time with this loser, so that's your boy. Like, dude, you're at dinner with your fucking family, you psycho. Like, maybe this is not the time to do that. And by the way, his wife and sister, I
was gonna say you were missing the most important point.
His wife and sister is like right next to him, and dude, he doesn't give a damn, because you saw in the last episode before they aged him up, he was talking to Aemon when they were younger, and he's like, I have to marry her. And Aemon's like, yes, I would do my duty honorably. And he's like, but she's so weird. It's like there's no connection with her at all. And in fact, the only reason they are married is because Alicent is doing it for the bloodline and to try and make Aegon look more legitimate, because that's what Targaryens do. They marry brother and sister to keep the dragon blood pure. And by the way, about Helena, I just want you guys, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this in the past, but you really have to pay attention to every little word that Helena says, because she's a dreamer, probably even more so than Viserys ever was. Like every word that she says is prophetic in a way. So you really kind of have to listen out, because the things that she says are almost assuredly going to come back in the future. And if you missed it, while she was sitting there, she said, "Beware the beast beneath the boards."
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. What does that mean?
So I have my own inclination, but I've read the books, so I know like what I feel it refers to. So I'll refrain from it. What I will say is the cinematographers have made a very direct point to show you the rats. And a lot of scenes throughout the season, there's rats mysteriously like looking down upon Alicent from her bedpost, or they're on top of Balerion's dragon skull, or they're coming up after Laenor got beat to death, and they married Rhaenyra, or Laenor's boyfriend rather, got beat to death, and there's blood on the floor, and the rats come up and starts drinking the blood. Like, there's definitely a rat thing going on here.
I did not notice that. So I will pay more attention now.
I noticed them, but I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, that's gross. Moving on.
Game of Thrones is very intentional with the stuff that it decides to show. The question I have for you all, and Greg kind of, and it even kind of touched on it, it seemed like at the end, there was like this reconciling of, Alicent, when doing her toast, she's like, and I'm sure you'll make a fine queen, So in that moment, obviously before all shit hits the fan, but in that moment, it kind of seems like they're like, all right, this is how it's going to be from here on. We're all making our peace with one another. Did you all kind of get the same feel?
I'll let somebody else go.
Oh, I did 100%. I mean, you feel like they were kind of like, in essence, burying the hatchet, because it was like, plus Viserys has made such a point. He's like, look, damn it, this is what it was going to be. That's where he's kind of started before. We're a family. I've made my decision. Prior to all that, but he's like, I've made my decision, and this is what it's going to be. So, I think Alicent was finally resigned to the fact of, hey, that's all right. Let's just roll with it, and or at least for that moment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do feel like there was some semblance of that. But as we all know.
Right. I think it was legitimate. I think they were authentic in their the adults. The children, however, just too much testosterone and ego going around. Okay. Now I have a question about Eye Patch. First of all, in the episode before, I like to call that when Draco Malfoy wins Dragon. Because I was like, this is freaking Draco Malfoy, and it's like, okay. So Draco Malfoy grows up, and now he is big old person. And like, okay, it's intentional that they made him look like Daemon. Yes, I would think so, because he very much resembles, like, when they were standing off, it was almost like a mirror image of like the ego, the testosterone, the dominance, and he's the one that's like refuses to, like, pretty much both of them refuse to like let bygones be bygones, but he's the one that pushed all the buttons. But they're supposed to be like 17 to 21, and my brother looks like he's 40. You know what I mean? So
I know, right?
I was like, why does he look like the older sibling now?
And not just that, but the other kids look even younger. Like, to me, the difference between the two sets of kids is ridiculous. Not just sets, but yeah.
No, the cousins. Yeah, I 100% agree. I wanted to know that they were. I thought like they were saying the adult ones were authentic, and then the kids ones were kids being kids and stirring up the pot. But just out of curiosity, like he does say, I don't understand what was so insulting about his toast when he says
He called them strong. He called them something brave, this thing, and strong. Strong was the last
and
name
you're
of their
strong.
illegitimate father.
Yep.
That was his surname.
Okay, that's what I was missing.
So
I was
that
like, how
was
is
the
that an insult to
insult
call
that
you
he-
strong? Okay.
Yeah,
because that was the name of the dad.
the big dude
Harwin.
that beat up Kristen Cole in the
Mhm.
courtyard a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
That beat him up, and Kristen Cole was totally baiting him, and he
Yeah.
totally got the better of it because Harwin did exactly what he wanted.
Well, he ended up getting burned alive, right? That guy.
Yeah, his
Oh, yeah,
younger brother ends up having him
Brother,
burned
freaking
alive.
club foot.
Yeah, I know, dude. He's
He's
Speaking of
dangerous.
rats,
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories about that too.
Mhm.
But yeah, so to call them strong boys, it's
Mhm.
basically calling them a bastard to their face.
Mhm.
Yeah. See,
and
I'm
if
like
you
white chocolate
notice,
espresso though. I thought it was because he said boys. Like I thought I was like that's kind of insulting, but I can kind of see. Yeah, I get
No,
that.
well,
That
it could
was
be
my
like a
thought.
twofold, because you're talking strong, referring to like their bloodline, and boys saying, "Okay, well, you still are children, as far as I'm concerned."
I know.
So
They
it could
always
have been
refer to them
twofold.
as nephews too. What up,
Mhm.
nephews? And I'm like, aren't y'all close in age? Like, okay.
yeah.
Might be your nephew, but my mom's about to be your queen.
Right.
And Tony in the chat room, he puts also what was the significance of putting the pig
Mhm.
squarely in front of him, and that was the moment that triggered Eamon.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because they put the pig in front of him, and you see Lucerys, and he's sitting there kind of like
Giggling.
When he
like
starts
giggling and
snickering,
la-
they start laughing.
Yeah, because if you remember, like 2 episodes ago now, they made fun of him with the pig. Like, oh, hey, don't
That was
worry,
his dragon.
we
Yeah.
found
Found
you
you
a
a
dragon. But that's also why he was strutting his stuff when he did finally grab
Mhm.
Vagar. He grabbed the biggest, most dangerous dragon in all of Westeros. And yeah, of course it feels like hot shit.
But then
that
again,
was go ahead, sorry.
but then again, I'm like, and I kind of felt like in the same token, I'm like, yeah, he scored Vagar. So I'm like, why would that really still get under your skin? Because you just basically went out and proved you're like the bigger baddie because you have the bigger baddie.
Yeah.
So that's why, I'm like, y'all still are kids. Y'all are still
They're
young.
kids, and there's ego, and they're full
Yes.
of testosterone, and they just want to fight.
Well,
Until
and if you
it's all fun
go
and
ahead.
games until someone loses an eye.
Yeah, literally. quite
Smash games a
literally.
dragon.
And by the way, if you notice, I really like in this episode the subtle juxtaposition between Aegon and Aemon, because basically Alicent has been telling them all the same thing since they were small children. Aemon takes it very serious to the point where the first time you see him in this episode, what's he doing? Oh, he's training with Sir Kristen Cole in the courtyard. By the way, Kristen Cole beat Daemon in a tournament in the first episode of the season. So Kristen got beat by Aemon, but he also, it's like you have reason to believe that, maybe Aemon is the younger, better fighter out of all of them. And the fact that after he does beat Kristen, Kristen says, "You'll make a wonderful tourney night, my lord." And he says, "I don't give a fuck about tourneys." Basically saying, I'm doing this because I'm going to wet my sword with blood, dude. That's what I'm training for. That's what I got the dragon for. He knows that there is a war coming, and he is preparing as such. The final point to that is when Viserys affirms Rhaenyra as the heir and Lucerys as the rightful heir to Driftmark, there's a point where you see Aegon, the would-be king, the fat boy, and when he announces that, he smiles. It's like a sigh of relief to him because he doesn't want to be the king. He doesn't want any of this at all. He wants to get drunk, have sex with random women. Like, that's all he's in this for. Whereas Aemon is preparing himself for the battle to come. And
you know what, though? I have to call bullshit on his fighting skills. You only got one eye. You don't have any sense of depth anymore.
True.
Yeah.
You know,
All
one thing
that-
about their fighting too, they play for keeps when they
all that
practice.
subtlety that he was fighting with, he can't do that. He can't do that. It's not possible.
That's a good point.
Although
there is something about
you
being
learn to compensate, maybe, and you just you learn, okay, because it did have a portion of his life with the eye, so maybe he's been able to kind of train the differences. I don't know. One-eyed characters are almost a staple in Game of Thrones at this point. There's been a bunch of them throughout
This
the
is
story.
true.
Yeah,
Genuinely
I
bad.
sword fight. It's what he was doing, and you can't do that with one eye. It's just not possible. You will get whooped by Sir Christian.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else.
That's
We
where
talk-
your line is for fantasy, right there. That's it.
That's all right.
Yeah,
You can't play with one eye. Nope.
Depth
Ride the
perception.
dragon all day long. I'm okay with that. Incest, whatever. You can't fight with one eye. Out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the dinner. We briefly spoke about it when we were talking about the cheers, but I guess we did talk about enough of the dinner. Trying to think, the cheers were just about all of it. What else on this episode then?
Well, no, I will say
Someone is challenging my knife skills.
Oh,
I will say one thing though. You notice it was very on the nose that as soon as Viserys leaves, like everyone's happy. Lucerys and Helena are dancing with one another. Damon is like laughing with Rhaenyra. Otto's clapping his hands, like, you know. And it was a nice moment for Viserys because before this man dies, he gets to look at his entire family happy and healthy and together, and right, before they tear each other to pieces, But
With one eye.
yeah, with one eye. But the very moment that he leaves, well, that's when shit hits the fan.
Right.
And I found that to be very poetic in and of itself too. That it's like,
play nice in front
okay,
of daddy type deal.
Well, yeah, and I think that's like no matter what he does, it's just he can't solve the problem. You know what I mean? There's just too many things going on, too many things for people to argue about. There's hurt feelings that go back so far, and it's like no matter how many times he's like kiss and make up, it's just not going to happen.
yeah, not at all. So what White Chocolate Espresso is talking about?
The two spies.
Yeah, and so Allison's handmaiden, I forget her name, but you see her walk up to Mysaria. Remember, that was the woman that was with Damon way earlier in this season, and she's like moved up. She's like she has the little birds like Varys had in the original Game of Thrones, but she's bringing information to Mysaria, and I did find that interesting. I don't know what that's building up to, but they definitely did make it a point to show you that. So I'm sure that will be something to keep an eye on moving forward. That there's someone inside. There's someone inside of the Red Keep who's giving all this information to Mysaria. And why does Mysaria want it? Like, what is she up to?
Is she on, or what is she thinking?
Can I ask one question about the premise of this whole episode? It starts out with Corlys. They never actually say he's dead, right? Correct. They just say that he's probably going to die. So they're setting all this up, assuming he's going to die.
Right.
Okay.
He's going to show up next episode?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't remember them ever saying that he died. I just remember them saying, like, you may be setting yourself up for them returning without, the king or whatever. And I was like, well, yeah, but why don't we wait till we get to that point before we go through all this? But I get they're trying to jump the gun and be on,
See, that would have changed. That would have changed everything, because if you had his brother Vaemon show up, and I mean, you can't have the fight because Corlys didn't want the fight. Corlys wanted to stick with the way that they had the plan. That's why whenever Viserys is sitting there on the throne, he's like, why is a challenge being contested to something that we've already figured out? That's exactly why. Yeah. But the fact that the court is so small and it only consists of family members, and then he has to go and open his mouth then, if he did it with a room full of people, like whatever you want to call them, noble lords and blah, 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 probably would have had a little bit more weight. And I doubt that he might have, lost his head if he did it in front of everybody else. But that's been the thing, no one says anything, period, about her kids.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember earlier when they were fighting the war in the Stepstones, and Corlys got mad at his brother because he went up to him and he was like, "I will not have you start a mutiny right now." So it already kind of pointed out some tension
over Daemon.
Yeah. Over Daemon, 100%. So it does show that there is a difference in how Corlys and Daemon view things. Even in the last episode, when or it was either the last episode or 2 episodes ago, where Corlys and Rhaenys are sitting with one another, and she's like, "Make Lena the heir to Driftmark. She's your blood. She's your actual blood." And he's like, "Listen, history doesn't remember blood; it remembers names." And that sentiment was further echoed again here in these episodes. So I don't think Corlys would have been on Vaemon's side. He wants it to go to Viserys, and it's do y'all want a small spoiler? A small one?
I'll leave that up to everybody else. I'm cool.
Just a weenie win.
I'll leave that up to everybody else.
It's totally not big. It's
what I
totally
was
not.
thinking though? Even if her kids aren't technically heirs to the Driftmark, right?
Yeah,
Throne,
Driftmark.
it doesn't change the fact they're still her heirs to the throne. They're still her children. They might not be Lamore. I can't say all the names.
Laenor.
They're not Laenor's children, and if that's proven that they're not his children, then yeah, they're not privy to maybe that seat, but they're still direct line from Viserys through his heir. So there would still be heir to the throne, but because it's through a woman, is that why it's a question, or that's why, right?
So Driftmark is the seat of House Valerian. That's
right.
Corlys, right? Then there's the Iron Throne, and that's the Red Keep. And you see in this episode, Rhaenyra goes to Rhaenys and she's like, "Let's marry our children. Let's marry them together." So it further connects everything, and that's another part of it. And if you notice, Rhaenys, the older Targaryen, Corlys's wife, she's very calculating in herself. She tells Rhaenyra that she's there for herself, and she's there for her own. She's looking out for her own damn self. And Rhaenyra knew as much. But Rhaenys is like, "You bring my daughter to me to try and soften me up." And she even says, "After you had my son killed," because it looks to the whole world like Daemon and Rhaenyra had their wife and husband respectively killed. And it was very intentional. Even in the books, it says it was done, that they wanted to instill fear in people of what they would be willing to do to accomplish their goals. So I found it funny that, Rhaenys feels like, this bitch just murdered my son, and then has the gall to come and propose this marriage deal.
And
she reminds me of Old Lady Hightower. That's who she reminds me of.
She does, but she didn't accept it until after Viserys took the throne.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
she's very calculating.
Never yes or no. Yes, I'm agreeing. 100% agree with you. Where she was so calculating, where she's like, "Well, that ship has sailed. We're gonna marry now."
Right.
That's the better of the two options.
It's so crazy how in that time that's just the way things rolled. It's like, we're gonna get married. That's the way it is.
Your cousins, it's cool.
Times have definitely changed. So this episode ends, I'm assuming, with the king's last breath.
Yes, and okay.
But
I'm gonna ask y'all, how did you all interpret that final scene?
I interpreted it as. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
He was talking to Rhaenyra. He was continuing the story, about the Song of Ice and Fire that he was talking to Rhaenyra about. And he knew he was on his way out. So he was just saying, like, my time is over. It's your job now to continue on with this legacy, to make sure, that it's the prince that was promised, the Song of Ice and Fire. yeah, so that was the same conversation he had with Rhaenyra, except he didn't realize who was there because they gave him so much milk of the poppy he couldn't see straight.
Yeah.
So
And
someone
she was
there
sitting on the side that had no eye too.
Right, so he couldn't see, couldn't hear, probably
Or fight. He can't fight.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't fight on that side. You got no eye.
Do you
Panther
think-
Podcast. I actually am a martial artist, and I choreograph fight scenes for production. Sorry if I just was like,
So
oh,
she
no,
knows
No,
what
you're
she's
good.
talking
but like,
I'm kind of a
like,
badass. I don't know if you know this.
I legitimately do those things. Like, so it's like if you spar with someone with a knife, you know that it's like you can't, if you can't see it or you don't have depth perception, it's 99% more difficult.
Right.
Not 100%, but it's 99% more difficult.
Sure. That would make a lot of sense.
So that just opened Alicent. The way that she interpreted it was, well, all she heard was Aemond, Aegon, prince that was promised.
Yep.
Right. And now she's like, oh, on his deathbed, he decided that our son is the one that's supposed to rule.
Like I said, too many Aegons.
Too many.
Yes.
Stop naming your kids all the same name.
Dude,
and Rhaenyra left, so she don't even know what she's walking back into.
If you go into Twitter, the memes for the House of the Dragon, they're the best. They're honestly the best. Like you wouldn't have this problem if Targaryens had another name besides just Aegon for every son that they have. Which, by the way, did y'all catch on that Rhaenyra, her and Daemon had 2 kids?
Yeah.
And there's his name, Aegon.
Aegon
or a king.
Aegon and Viserys.
No,
She's about to have 6.
Yeah, there's another one on the way,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, she's on 2 hands now, and I'm like, if that's not scary, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
So my question is, like, she hears this misinterpretation on his deathbed. She's the only one that hears it, so she can say that to somebody. But are they just going to believe her? I mean, I get it; she's queen.
If a tree falls in the woods.
But yeah, I guess that's a good point. If the king's dead, not there to defend himself, it would go to her. Whatever she says, I guess is.
And remember, let's go back a bunch of episodes. Remember when they were hunting for the white stag?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was that part where Viserys was at the bonfire and he's drunk as hell. And Alicent comes up to him and he's like, did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake in naming Rhaenyra the queen too early? And back then, Alicent was still on her side. But you had that moment. Now you have this moment where she hears prophecy and the threat to the north. And then she hears Aegon, and she has no idea that he's talking about the initial dream of Aegon the Conqueror. She just hears Aegon. Oh, I guess he's talking about my dumb shit son. You know, so the fact,
king.
yeah, for real. The fact that she hears that, it does make her plight all the more interesting. Because instead of it just being her being power hungry, and wanting her son to sit the Iron Throne for their own safety, like we said, during that toast, it kind of seemed as if she was like, Rhaenyra is going to be the queen of the realm, and that'll be it. But now you have this moment that happens literally before the man dies, and now she has like this vindication that she feels her original mission is now more important than it ever was before, which I find fascinating.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's kind of like she wanted a reason, right? She never had that reason. He was never on her side about any of that. Like anytime she brought up like Rhaenyra's children, he was like, I don't even want to talk about it with you. It's already been done, And then when he was like, Prince that was promised Aegon, she was like, that's it, it's the moment, like, let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point with this misunderstanding, whatever she does going forward, it's not like really her fault. She's doing what she thought she's supposed to do.
That's
because what she should have done is be like, say that again
anyway.
one more time.
Yeah.
Let me hear it. I'm not sure I heard you right.
Yeah.
Can you clarify? Can we get a notary in here so that I'm not the only person that heard this?
Yeah.
Bad.
It's
I'm
kind of like leaving things out of the truth, and saying it's not
Oh.
lying. Like,
Yeah.
it's so.
When you know that your little shit kid is probably going to end up cutting his dick off on that massive sword set going up to that throne.
She
Oh,
saw
yeah.
him sit on that throne how many times and get like just bloodied and gross and like lose fingers. She wants her kid sitting there.
Nope.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially if
Power is
the
a
king is
funny
there now,
thing.
sitting on the throne now. Well,
Yeah,
how many episodes do we have left?
2.
Two. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So penultimate next week.
So the Game of Thrones tradition is episode 9 is always the batshit insane episode. Like episode 9. This is, and as someone who knows, like the story that's unfolding, this is where the Dance of the Dragons begins. This next episode, because this next episode, like this whole civil war to come, has been named the Dance of the Dragons. That's how history knows it.
Battle.
And
Let's
this
have a
next
battle.
episode is where that happens in earnest. So
I'm here for it. I'm here for all the aerial CGI dragon badass battles. Let's see it. Let's do it. Let's have it.
I'm with you. I like it too.
I love how Martin came out and said, we really need 4 seasons to tell the story. And I mean, like, well, if I need that much money, it's going to take me like 10 seasons to tell this whole entire story. So, seriously,
Right.
just
well,
I
the
need as
good
much
thing.
time as possible.
So the thing about House of the Dragon is it appears as though they're going to make it an anthology. So the Dance of the Dragons covers a certain period of Targaryen history, but there's more monarchs after that also have a ton of crazy, insane stories that are left to tell. So even though this story might come to an end, House of the Dragon can go for many, many, many more seasons and involve a completely different cast of characters.
That's
Well,
awesome.
They lost a writer and an executive producer.
Yeah,
and they said that they
Miguel
lost them.
Sapochnik.
But I was really under the impression that I'm like, I don't think they're losing people as much as they are really like casting their net wider. Because just like you said, there's more story to this. And so when you can't come out and say that, your full intention plan is to turn around and turn this into a much bigger universe than that already exists, I think you got to pry people, right? So why not pull them from a project you already have if you have an abundant amount of people?
Fair point.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think that the showrunners did an awesome job adapting this material. I think done a fantastic job.
Well, it helps you
that's
love
pretty-
this universe too. It's basically for you. They just don't. You just don't want to see them screw something up. As long as you can tell the story as I guess anybody who read it would intend it to be, or they interpret it, and it works out well. But I don't know anything about the actual storyboard. Are they straying from the actual story? Are they taking liberties of their own, or is it pretty much cut and dry? Exactly.
So they are, but they need to be though, because if you remember me telling you, Fire and Blood is written from the point of views of maesters that are telling a history, and they will tell you that they only have third-hand accounts of things that actually happened and went on. So, for example, Laenor Valerian, Rhaenyra's first wife, in the books, he dies. But the Maesters wouldn't know if there was some concocted plan for him to go and live somewhere else, would they? So even though it doesn't happen in the books, it might be more true what they're doing in the show.
Okay. I like that. And they have a lot of liberties they can take with all this.
Yeah, they have a lot of
liberties
liberties that they can take, and which I think is fun.
And all of this has been like a real small part of the section, right? I mean, like everyone is, from what I've heard, has said that the story up until now was like a real small blip in the book itself to turn around and tell the much bigger story, which is what they're setting on. So
yeah. And
Tony raises such a straw man argument. It's so not the same thing at all.
I see the point he's trying to raise, but the difference in what you're saying is like, okay, Lord of the Rings, like they want to follow the lore because like it's cut and dry. This is what happens, you know. And I guess they have liberties they can take in stories that get in between there. But what you're saying is they're taking the stories and it's just the filler stuff within the stories that they're filling in and making it themselves. And Tony's right. A lot of Tolkien fans are really pissed off at the liberties they're taking with Rings of Power. But at the same time, I guess sometimes you kind of got to, right? Like not everything's written in there, and you have to create some kind of new stuff. So
when jumping from one medium to another, you have to adapt the content. Like the pacing is different, the storytelling is different. You know, it has to be different. And again, I'm not some Tolkien super fan, so I don't necessarily even know what changes were made from Rings of Power, Silmarillion, and stuff like that. I have no idea, but I just know that Lord of the Rings fans are like, what? What are you talking? This has nothing to do with his original.
I know how we fix this.
Let's do it.
How?
Claymation celebrity deathmatch.
I like it.
Rings of Power in one corner, HoT in the other.
Let's get it on.
Ross, you better pitch that. I want to see it.
I like it.
HoT wins easy, bro.
Well, that's actually a really good transition into Rings of Power. Do y'all want to go ahead and knock that one out too?
Yeah.
I only want to talk about one more thing, real short. The religion aspect in the show when you have Alicent bringing in the new gods and the seventh star.
Yes.
That was so that was right off the bat in the beginning of it, and so it's funny to watch her slowly dismantle the Targaryen way, you know, the old ways. So I'm interested to see how far that gets stretched. Just because
do you think that she's actually Ross? Did you feel like she's actually pious and actually faithful, or she's trying to tie herself to the faith for like power reasons?
No, dude, she is a de-evolved Cersei Lannister. I mean, that's exactly if you can kind of break it down. You know, she's going to be the Queen Regent more or less, and you know she's going to have that same kind of role. So. I guess she's not since he died, but she's going to try to hold on to it. And with that power struggle, that's what the whole thing about what Game of Thrones is all about. It's all about the literal Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So is she going to keep it, or is she going to try to put her son on the throne?
Oh, she wants her son on the throne.
Well, she's
I know, but that's what I mean. Like,
so also another thing to remember too is that all of these things are connected. House Tower, the Faith of the Seven, the Maesters, they all are based out of Old Town. And that's where they're all from. The High Towers rule there. The Maesters Citadel is there. And the High Septon, who is the equivalent of the Pope to this world, is also in Old Town. So again, it's like, you know, it's like the Roman Catholic Church aligning with the Roman Empire back in the day. It's like same kind of thing. It's all of these things coming together. And I love how Rhaenyra and Daemon noticed that. Like, she's like, well, I would say it's nice to be home, but I can't say I recognize it, you know? All this Faith of the Seven imagery everywhere.
It's propaganda, man.
Push super propaganda.
Yeah.
Sarah, what are you drinking? I want some of that.
I've had a rough week, so it's just a little something to kind of get through the evening.
Oh, you deserve it.
That's
You deserve it. For
I
sure.
was like, I feel you. You've been quiet.
They used to be one of the rules is we had to have a drink on the show.
I know, I didn't. I just have my bubbly water. I didn't bring a beer.
By the end of 3-hour shows, everybody
It can be any type of beverage. We always encourage beverages.
Pause my camera and go get one at some point because it is Friday, right?
Yeah.
Well, my question is, who's gonna take over the one image that really kind of like in the very beginning, and maybe you guys can figure out where I'm going with this, but when Rhaenyra and Daemon walked into Viserys' bedchamber, you saw the cobwebs. And at that point, I was like, even before you saw him, I'm like, oh, it's over. It's over. Because, I mean, you know, that was something, it's like, who's going to do that now? Where's that? What's going to happen with that? So I don't know. That was just one piece of imagery where I was just like, it kind of foreshadowed.
Yeah.
Like the Viserys
he doesn't have the
done.
strength to even do his hobbies anymore. Building this ancient Valyrian model set. He's such a dad. That's such a dad thing to do.
I saw a meme where it was like Viserys in heaven. It was like a Lego store.
Legoland. It was Legoland.
Totally. And by the way, that's
dads
a great
need
point.
that so they don't kill their kids.
That's a great point by Kevin in the chat. White Chocolate Espresso. I think she uses religion to make her kids more legit than Rhaenyra. And another thing that isn't like explicitly stated, but like the Faith of the Seven, they've always been on real bad terms with Targaryens because they're not down with the incest thing. There was a big war between the Faith militant and this other Targaryen king called Maegor the Cruel, and it was a big deal, dude. Like a lot of people died. There's a lot of bad blood. So the fact that she is kind of nestling up to the Faith of the Seven, it's like, it's like a consolidation of power is what she's trying to do, I feel like.
Cody, are you sure you're not a maester? Like, seriously?
Right?
Like, are you sure you didn't write some of this? Like, for real?
How dare you, good sir, make such an accusation on my character?
Actually, if you are, I'm going to need some of that milk with the poppy because I need to get on that level.
I got you, dog.
I mean, it's Friday night. That dude was having a trip. I feel like I could use one too.
That would make the show totally different if we're all drinking milk with poppy. I'm telling you.
But the fact also that like Viserys' last words. I mean, yes. I mean,
off screen too.
Everybody's interpretation. I mean, I know what my immediate interpretation was. That's what he was seeing or who he was speaking to.
What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It was Aemma. Absolutely.
Yeah, his first wife. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, he'd already called Allison.
Yeah,
Aemma. And I was like,
right.
Yeah, he had already messed up the names. Yeah,
I mean, she was just like.
Fun fact. That was also improvised by the actor. That was not written for him. That was Patty Considine doing that. Yeah, so fantastic touch. He deserves to win an Emmy, man.
That was such a great role for him. He played it so well. Like every episode was just like slowly deteriorating. So like unfit to sit on the chair. Just the chair was rejecting him, and but just loved his family so much and just wanted them all to get along. But because of circumstances, it is what it is, and it's just like it just sucked. So even his dying breath, it's just like still calling out to his family. So that was what was important to him. That guy's amazing, and it's going to be sad that he's gone out of the show.
He will be missed. 100%.
He will be missed. But what a hard episode. If I were him, I would not watch that episode. It's like you can't watch yourself do those things. Ooh, with that makeup. They did what? Like, just show me a picture. I'm not going to watch it again. Thanks.
I wish Tony was still here because this is definitely a jab at him. But this is the difference between HoT and Rings of Power. The depths of the characters and the complexity of the character. You can make the case that Viserys did a lot of very dumb things in his time as the ruler of Westeros. But at the end of the day, man, I'll be damned if you don't still feel for him and feel for what he went through and his plight of trying to make his family come together for the... he believes in this apocalyptic dream that an ancestor of his had. And he believes that he's helping to fulfill this destiny, and for as flawed as he was, he actively tried to adhere to that. And that's noble.
So did this person have prophecy about the family or a prophecy about that knife? Because the knife is what killed the Night King, not his family. The knife.
So, Laura, this is a whole nother bag of worms.
We can do it another time.
It is because the Game of Thrones books have not been finished yet.
This is true.
There's still 2 more books.
Probably still just no.
Yeah, so the writers, they really kind of ham-fisted the ending. And
I love that saying.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the same ending. So I do like that they're doubling down on the prophecy, because it is for sure gonna play a much bigger part in the story to come. And by the way, you're already hearing rumors of a Jon Snow show, which is set to take place after Game of Thrones. Personally, I am not very excited for that because I don't know what it would be based on. However, I kind of have the feeling like that's HBO's attempt to retcon the terrible ending to Game of Thrones that everyone just could not stand. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Well, it's funny because I don't even think they need to do that. I think that you may mess up even more by doing that. As a person who's seen Game of Thrones, I know just from hearing from everybody that the ending is terrible. But if you had such a terrible ending and you still have this many people coming back for House of the Dragon, you don't need to go back and fix that. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know, let's act like that never happened and just keep doing what you're doing.
It never happened.
Yeah.
What was that meme where like Corlys was like sitting there with his hand over his cup, and it's like when someone reminds me what happened at the end of season 8, and it's just like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anything else y'all want to talk about? House of the Dragon?
No. Final thing I'll say: when Daemon cuts Vaemon's head off, look at Aemon's face and how he reacts. At first, he goes to draw his sword, but then he's like, "Oh yeah!" Like,
he sees the power. That's what he sees.
That's almost like his idol in a weird way. And he might not want to be Daemon. And you made that point earlier, Laurie. That it's like there's very much a similarity between. They're definitely bad boys on both sides, you know.
That's that second son syndrome, man.
Yeah, man, that second perfect, Ross.
There's going to be a reckoning between the two of them at some point. I guarantee it.
Oh,
that's what they're foreshadowing. Don't tell us. I haven't read the book, so I'm just predicting that. Don't tell us if I'm right or wrong, but that's how I think the writers are foreshadowing. It's like me not having read that book. I was like, Daemon and Rhaenyra, they're going to get together for the good of the realm. And someone was like, have you read the books? And I was like, no. And they're like, okay.
Okay.
Like, I'm right then. Thanks. You know?
There you go.
So yeah, the blade, it's like the blade being passed down. And then of course, what happened with Blade in the Night King. So we'll just leave it at that. Let's move on.
Are you good? I love talking about House of the Dragon. So I think it's definitely the most popular show of everything we're watching right now anyway. But there is another popular one out that Cody has a totally different opinion on with this one. And look, me and Cody have our private chat with the C3Panthers Podcast, and we're always talking in that. And this comes up from time to time. I disagree with Cody because I do love Lord of the Rings and this lore more than he does. However, I do think the show fell a little flat on the end. They kind of tightened it for me. Like, you know, they built me up to this great finale, and then it's just like it was kind of like what the Titans do. There were some good parts to it for me, but all in all, man, like there's a couple things that I was like, that doesn't work. But I'm not a gatekeeper for Lord of the Rings anyway, so it's not a big deal. And there were a couple of twists that I didn't see coming. At least one that I didn't see coming. So
yeah.
All in all, I like the show. And it's like Titans. The show's good enough for me that having a bad finale is not going to make me not want to see the future. And who knows what they're going to do in the future. But you know, Cody, you had mentioned it before, or CK mentioned it before about how it kind of fell on its face, and I have to agree with him a little bit. The finale was a little lackluster for me. You know, what say you?
Always gonna make me go first.
No, you know what? I did make you go first last time. Let's start with the ladies. Laura, you're our guest. What say you?
Okay, all right. Well, the series in itself has been kind of lackluster for me. It's one of those, like, when I sit down and I watch Game of Thrones, I'm sucked in. Like, people are talking to me, and I'm like, are you talking to me? Like, oh, hi. You know what I mean? But this, like, I've started and stopped so many episodes where I forget where I'm at, and I got to rewind to go back. So I just feel like it's not the same. It doesn't suck me in. I haven't read this book either. Okay, so I haven't read the Game of Thrones Blood of the Dragon, Blood and Fire, that one. And then I have not read the I can't say that either, Silmarillion. So again, I'm coming into it blind, not knowing what the differences are. So I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing like Isildur and Elendil and like places like Numenor, which we haven't seen before, and like seeing things that like, I understand, you know what I mean? Where now where these people are coming from, and like the dwarves. Anyway, getting back to the finale, it was still some more of that. The twists in there though, I was like, where is that? That's who? Like, who are these people? This is who? I didn't think that's what I was like. I was predicting that was. Can I spoil it? Can I say it?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was
Go
like,
ahead.
this is Gandalf. This is Gandalf. Like in my mind, this has always been Gandalf. And then they're like, this is Lord Sauron. And I was like, no. I'm like, no, that can't be. That's not right. I'm like, it makes perfect sense for it to be Gandalf because he's with the Harfoots, and this is why he loves hobbits so much, is because of what happens. Like, this makes perfect sense for me, you know. But when they're like Lord Sauron, but then it wasn't, and I was like, okay, there's a twist, and then there's another twist, and then they're like, well, Harland is not Harland, he's actually Lord Sauron. I'm like, motherfucker, we gotta do this again. Like, this is not who you think it is. I'm like, so it was the same twist, but we did it like 3 times. Now I gotta go back and like watch. See, but this is where they did that. I have to go back and watch to be like, there's clues in there that I missed when they were telling me this is Sauron, and I didn't catch it, you know? So now I'm going to go give them more money by viewing their stuff again. Yeah. So that's what I think a lot of it was, is they were establishing these characters as one way, and then they pull the rug out from under you and like, this is not who you think it is. It's this person, you know? And then they just drop you into Mordor. I thought that was cool though. When they woke up the mountain, I was like, I liked that, but that was last week, wasn't it? Yeah. So
you mean they did key and started up the volcano?
They started up the volcano. Yep. They pushed, they turned the lever. They did the whole like Mission
Physics, man, that's
Impossible
how it works.
opening, and it opened them. That was the whole point, is they dug the tunnels for waking up the mountain and turning it into the Southland, into a place where the orcs could live. There was another twist too, because everybody thought that guy was Sauron, and he wasn't, you know? So again, they keep playing with your emotions, like, this is Sauron. No, it isn't. This is so-and-so. No, it isn't. You know what I mean? It was the same kind of twist over and over. So I was like, you could get a little more original with your twisting. Throw in something else. I don't know.
Right. All right. Sarah?
I guess it worked for me because, I mean, not just the fact of just like throwing all that, because it's funny. My husband, he was like, just go and watch the episode without me. I'm like, oh no, I'm not trying to go back and explain anything. Because he's like, I'm gonna go back and watch it anyway. I'm gonna have, because I don't know what in the hell's going on. And I mean, it's like I said, it's been years since we've seen Lord of the Rings. But I did pick up on a few things. I didn't quite get as deep into the Easter eggs as Greg did, but I mean, it was, I was definitely, when the 3 came in and they're like, you're Lord Sauron. I was like, come off the couch. I was like, no, really? Seriously? I mean, it's like I thought that in the beginning. I mean, I just kind of, thought that with him in the middle of, like a ring of fire in essence. I'm like, oh, that's, but like I said, just like the interaction with the Harfoots, I'm like, maybe not. But then Laurie, I was like, it's Gandalf, it's got to be, or at least someone like that. So I guess in this, saying, oh, you finally got to, a wizard. Okay, I guess that's a step in the right direction. But I don't know. It's like, I think we had kind of talked previously. It's like with the Harfoots, it's like, how much of a role are they really going to play? And and I just couldn't help with Nori and her friend. I'm like, what is this like? I'm like, is she like Frodo's ancestor or something? Because I'm like, she fits the bill. And
I was wondering that.
Yeah,
like how
it's just,
if she's related to one of the hobbits.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny just kind of putting that kind of, because I'm looking at it like something totally new. And Cody, our friend Galadriel, I'm like, does she have to be in every damn elf scene? Every freaking scene. I'm like, why are you there? Why are you there? But yeah, but then again, it's like when they finally started talking about, I'm not even going to talk about Halbrand Sauron. I just can't even talk about that right now. I'm just like, what?
Yeah,
okay, people do evil shit all the time. It don't necessarily mean you're freaking the Dark Lord Sauron. I mean,
Right.
that's just crazy. But when they first started talking about, creating, this power, whatnot, and I just thought it was like super sketch. Elrond's like, "Oh, we'll make a crown. So you, High King, you can wear it." I'm like, why? Why would you even? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, this dude
Yeah.
is like shady as all get out. Why would you even think about giving
Mhm.
him something like that's just weird?
Everything Galadriel does is so dumb. Like they're trying to paint her out to be this strong, badass superhero, but whatever does is get confused and angry for no reason and like threaten people. Like, okay, they're doing such a good job of trying to make me not like her. And it's like I've given her so many chances, and I feel like even in the finale, it's just her character doesn't get better when she finds out that the dude is like has been lying to her the whole time. Like, yeah, no shit. But there was never any reason for you to trust this guy just because you saw some crest.
But
Like-
she knew. When did she find out that he wasn't the heir? Because when she was like, "You need to tell me who you really are," because that line has been broken for 1,000 years. At what point did she figure that out? Because did she know like episodes ago and just didn't bring it up?
No,
It's
she'd
so
gotten that scroll. Remember, she'd
Right,
gone to that
that's
guy
what
and
was
asked that
in that
scroll.
scroll.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
was what showed his line being broken.
Gotcha. Because I missed that. I must have been distracted by something where I'm
No.
like, what?
But how gullible do you have to be though? Like just because you see him with this like crash, like, oh, that's him. That's the king.
But I
And
think that's
they
the
have-
elf.
And he told her he
Prophecy.
wasn't. He was like, I picked this up off a dead guy.
Yeah, he was like actively trying to like tell her, nah, I'm not the one. Yeah, so I just don't understand it. That's not even my biggest issue with the show. My biggest issue is, and I said this last week, the impenetrable plot armor that every character has. Every single main character in this show is safe. Galadriel took a volcano to the face a few episodes ago, and nothing happened to her. Everyone's okay. The other woman lost her eyes, but it's like, okay, if you're going to have a fantasy world that is so fantastical and other than mine, that's fine. But you still have to have an air of believability that pulls you into it and makes you feel like the stakes are real.
Mhm.
And I feel like this show just does not know how to do that well.
Well, the Harfoot did die. I mean, there are some stakes,
Did
Yeah,
he
brother,
die?
shit's
Because
broke.
He did.
I thought I saw him walk away with them at the end.
No, he
No, he
got hit
died.
with the axe, and then he ends up saving them by stabbing that thing in the foot. And then at the end, he's like, "I just want to watch sunrise," and then he dies. Then they don't. You never see him after that.
Right.
So.
You don't actually see it, but I mean, it's implied, especially
Yeah.
after the fact.
Yeah,
because
but
what
they
was
still
his
get to have
wife-
this nice moment with them at the end.
Yeah.
And it's very like, oh.
I mean,
And
they
then
did
they-
kill
my
all their
hand.
friends in the
Yeah.
village.
Yeah. Look, my biggest
That
issue with
sucked.
Lord of the Rings and this world is sometimes things are drug out like extensively. It's my issue with the Fellowship of the Ring. Of the three
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings movies, that one's my least favorite to watch because everything's so strung out and long. And I'm not gonna lie, while I was watching this one, there were a few times where I was watching, and I was like, okay, I don't need to watch this sword melt for 2 minutes. Like I get it.
Yeah.
They're melting the sword. I don't need to watch it melt for 2 minutes. And I was like, okay, this is starting to get kind of Fellowship of the Ringish to me right here. I don't like that. I like the action and I like the story and the plot in this universe, but like it does drag things out sometimes. And it's like, it's like in the movie, I think the final scene with Elrond and Frodo is like feels like it's 26 minutes of them hugging goodbye. And it's like, come on,
Where
man.
they all
Well, it's
come in
like
Like,
the
I get
emphasis
it.
they try to put on something. Like the emphasis,
Yeah.
it's like you said. I think that's the drawn out part of it. It's like you're emphasizing it to a monumental effect. It's
Mhm.
just like it's too much. It's like, all right, here, this is what we're doing. That's cool. But it's just like that emphasis. It's just like, just that kind of thing. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, do we really need to put that much onto it? Because you can really slim down some of this. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, but
Well,
Greg,
it was still
you
visually
were-
stunning.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the show's beautiful.
They spent $1 billion on it. Better
Yeah,
be.
when you spend that much money on a show, it better be beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, but the one thing I'll say is that I don't feel like they do a good job of the world building either. Like, I feel like if you come into this and you're not a Lord of the Rings like super fan, and you don't know all the names, like, this show doesn't make it much easier for you. I feel like there are moments in the show where it expects you to know more than you already do. Like, apparently in this show, the mithril, it like comes from the Cimmerill, and like there's one time where they mention the Cimmerill, but it's like, and they just mention it in passing, and it's like, if that is going to be an important issue going forward, well, maybe you should spend a little more time elaborating on that, you know. And then if it's the case that they did, and I just didn't catch it, then it's like they didn't catch my attention enough. Like, I was like, you know, they just didn't do a great job, I feel, of like introducing this old fantasy world to a new generation of people. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they didn't fire on all cylinders that they could have.
I don't think that's their aim. And I think that's part of the problem that Lord of the Rings has always had, is that it's been so steeped in its lore.
Right.
You can't say that anyone's actually like gatekeeping anything, because, you know, all they do is talk about the books. I feel like it's a little bit backwards, because you kind of wish that, you know, Tolkien at some point had a hand in all this, because it's always, you're left up to whoever's interpretation. Mm-hmm. Now, this series is $1 billion, from my understanding, over 5 seasons, and the Tolkien estate is supposed to have a pretty good weighted voice in the conversation of how this whole thing goes.
Yeah, they chose Amazon over
right.
HBO and Netflix.
Right. So, I mean, and look, for $1 billion and 5 seasons, the first season, they need better writers. You want my personal opinion? Because we just, like, this show and the last one we just talked about are two shows about daggers, and this one just conceded by melting theirs. I don't. It's so simple. Yeah, like, we gave up, you know. And to your, like, I'll just hit the points, you know. Halbrand ends up being the king of the Southlands, which is now Mordor. I mean, that whole thing was like a direct connection. It worked out perfect for them. Galadriel, she only has one fuck to give, and that's her trying to, you know, but avenge her brother's death. Right. You're not going to get anything out of her other than that. You know, everything else is a moot point to her. The Stranger, Laurie, to your point, Sarah, to back it up, you guys are right. When I was watching it, it felt like the scene in a show where they hit the dude with a car and they back up over him just to be happy about it and make everyone laugh again. And they're like, no, we need to keep going straight. And like, that's how that scene felt. And even though they left the mysticism there for, you know, the door open for no one who really knew who he was because they didn't read the books, it didn't deliver. You know, I mean, to me, if you're going to build and have that much blankness on one character and allow the people to actually create their own story for this person before they unveil it, the unveiling should be really good. Not to say that him being a wizard is not cool, but, all that he did was unexplainable in this show.
Right.
It didn't come off as wizardy as much as it did just like his inability to control himself. Mm-hmm. And so that, I know that's what he's going to be going after, is to learn how to control. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, I like the characters in the show for the most part. Mm. Yeah, the visuals are beautiful. And yes, the lingering on the shots is a little bit too much sometimes. But I mean, as a whole, for 8 episodes and for that much money spent towards something, I need them to spend a little bit more and get some better writers in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or edit it differently.
True. Yeah.
That could be the thing, is the editing. They left too much in.
Yeah. I will say, me and Laurie were talking about this before we even started the show. We were kind of going back and forth about this episode in particular. There's no Aaron Deer in this episode. Like, they completely leave a main character out of this episode 100%. Like, what you get left with in the penultimate hymn is it. And I'm like, okay. They wrapped his story up pretty good. I'm sure we're going to get more of them. But it's just weird that he wasn't in the finale at all. And Cody, I wanted to say with the coming into this not knowing anything, it doesn't teach you about the world. You're right. It's a huge universe, and I think Ross is right too. I don't think it's what they're going for. Times have changed so much. This story was written in 1937. Okay, when I was in school, this was literature taught in school. We read The Hobbit and we watched the animated movie. Like, it was something you did, you know. Like this is a huge part of American literature. So it used to be something like whether you wanted to or not, you knew about it. And if you knew about it and you were a kid and you thought it was cool, you read into it. Nowadays, it's not as big of a thing. So I think they would have been better set had they tried to set it up more for a new generation to get into it. But I think that with this and the movies, the Lord of the Rings movies being out, it's something kids could pick up on if they wanted to. But you're right. I don't think this is something that's going to hook a kid right away if they're confused about where they're at. You know?
I will say the fights were good in this one. That when the elf was captured and they were fighting the wargs in the pit with the chains, fabulous fight. Really good. A+ from me.
I always love fights in the Lord of the Rings universe, man. I know it's just fodder. It's just random orgs fighting, running up, but I just always love the fights. Like, I mean, for the Battle of Helm's Deep is like, I could watch that fight over and over and over again. And I could play the game and fight that fight over and over and over and over again because it was so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you gotta watch the Game of Thrones fights, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure
they're great.
Textbook, amazing episode. I use that as examples for how I write battles. My
oh yeah.
Cool deal.
That one, and then I like the battles in Pirates of the Caribbean when they're battling like the 3 boats around the Maelstrom. That's a spectacular fight right there. So it's like,
pretty well done. You know what I just thought about too, and I didn't even mention this earlier. There was no Durin in this episode either. They wrapped that story up. Previous episode. So we got 2 main characters that weren't even in this episode. So.
And by the way, like that, he's the best character in the show.
Yes, I love
he is.
Dude, he and his wife, dude. You can't forget his wife.
By a mile. They are the best characters in this show. And by the way,
forging a sword.
He even has depth to him. Like the fact that is that he has this old curmudgeon father who's lived forever, and he has to do right by the dwarves. And he's like, "Oh, when you were born, I knew that you were gonna dig great mines." And he's like, "Well, how can I dig if my father won't let me?" You know, like that was I enjoyed that. That was a real moment where it's like it's a character having to overcome something, and it's like I really enjoyed that part with those characters, and the ending gives you none of that, none of that at all. So,
well, imagine the ending you would have got if Galadriel just would have like hooked up with Sauron.
I was going to ask that too. Did it seem like there's a moment where did she consider that in her head? Like, was she thinking about that? It looks like she was considering it.
Yeah.
You know, and like the message she got from her brother that we heard was "touch the darkness," and I was like, is she considering that? And then you see the silhouette of them standing there, and I was like, well, I know she didn't do it, and if she does, it's just a story we haven't heard about, and maybe they break up and have a bad deal. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a weird way to go.
Weird.
That silhouette was cool.
Kind of creepy, but not as creepy as incest. You know, things happen.
I'm not gonna lie. That's go ahead.
This is going to probably be the first show that you see come back because they've already been filming the 2nd season for this.
Oh,
they spent.
I would love to see more from Durin and like when they wake up the Balrog. You know what I mean? Like that'll be interesting to see Khazad-dûm get destroyed.
That's actually something we never mentioned about last week's episode. We actually did see the Balrog.
We did
get away, and yeah. You saw him in the last episode.
Yeah, the very end.
The very end. The leaf falls down to the very bottom.
Down, and when the leaf finally got all the way to the bottom. No, was it the leaf? It was some, no, it was it was the leaf.
It was the leaf, yeah.
Durin's father, the king, the dwarf king, he threw because that's when they were closing up the hole.
Yeah.
So when he threw the leaf in and it fell all the way to the bottom, that's when he saw it.
Yeah, but you only see it for a brief second, and then it doesn't explain anything else.
Like a little, kind of like a little jump.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to see that thing bust out and just cause havoc.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, I would tell people that they planned on this to be 5 seasons. So if you didn't get everything you wanted out of this first season, it's part of a 5-part story. So there's a lot more to come. They're building towards something.
I feel like it's build up. I mean,
if something didn't pay off right now, it may later.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say about that. But
and we're going to get these 5 seasons whether we want them or not. So
that's right.
Buckle up.
And if you pay for Amazon, you're probably going to watch it.
That's true.
Because it's there and it's free. Well, not free, but you pay for it.
We're going to watch it.
All right. Well, anything else y'all want to say about Rings of Power? Cody, you sticking around for anything else?
Oh, on the show tonight? No, I'm going on for something hours.
That's right. You came straight from another podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been podcasting for 4 hours. But
so
and
like
plus,
Tuesday night.
I'm sure you guys are still off your high from Wednesday.
It was fun.
We got to interview Jonathan Stewart. This week, we've gotten, like I think Greg said, like on our C3 channel, like 29,000 views just over the past few videos.
Since last Sunday,
holy you guys, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, when you bring on a legendary Panthers running back, I mean, what do you expect?
Wow.
Yeah, that was really cool. The fact that we were able to interview Jonathan Stewart, that was fun. And
I've been walking around showing everybody. I've been like, check us out.
29,000. So like 28,000 of those views was Greg sending that to people. Like, check this out.
However, you got to get
Greg kept his composure. I'm so proud of you. You kept your composure.
I was fidgeting. Like I wanted to say, I was like, I don't want to fanboy out too much, but yeah, I did a little bit because I definitely pulled his card.
Hey, dude, look, that's Jonathan Stewart, and that's me, dude. Look, that's me right there.
I told my wife, I was like, you see this guy? I was like, I just talked to him. I was like, he's supposed to in the Super Bowl. I just talked to this guy.
Yeah,
that's cool, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. But I wouldn't have anything to add anyway. I refuse to watch She-Hulk. I'm sorry. I refuse, dude. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to say I influenced that at all, but maybe I influenced a little bit. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, I've found it interesting to hear like your critiques. Like you'll post them on Twitter sometime.
A little bit.
And like and I'll be like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of selectively skipping certain Marvel content just because there's so much now. But yeah, there really is.
Sunday night, that's what it is. I mean, it's Sunday night. That's the big one.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, I've been here with you guys for every Friday since we've been doing House of the Dragon. So 2 more, I'll be back.
I hear you, and you're always welcome too. So I mean,
yeah, man, for sure, absolutely. You know, I love coming, hanging out with y'all, and talking to y'all. For sure. And Laurie, it was great to meet you. You had fantastic insights, and your comics are freaking incredible. I hope you reach your goal and everything. That's incredible.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I enjoyed hearing your insight on the House of the Dragon because when people have read the book, you can tell, you know what I mean? Because their insight is just so spot on. And they're like, pay attention to this. Like the thing about the rats, I was like, oh, I need to pay attention to those rats. Like, so thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Some real heavy foreshadowing there. But yeah, man, everybody have a great night. Sarah, it was great talking to you. Ross. And I'll check everybody there.
Yeah, don't worry, dear. I'll talk to you on Sunday.
I'll talk to you tonight.
So. Yeah. All right,
bud.
Everybody.
Take it easy, man.
All right, bye, Cody.
Love that guy. All right, well, we got 3 left. We got Andor, we got She-Hulk, and we got Lower Decks.
I can't
Which
do
one
Lower
do you
Decks
want to
this
start
week.
You didn't do Lower Decks?
I can't do Lower Decks. I just realized it's the one I didn't watch. Oh my
okay.
God.
Well, we can skip that one. It's cool. We can always double up on that one next week.
I haven't watched any of that, so
I had to bail in the last 5 minutes of it to start the show up to get the show running. But no, you should. It's a really good one, Laurie. I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan or not, but it's a fun little comedy.
I am. But what is it on? Is it on
Paramount Plus?
Paramount.
See, I don't have it. That's the problem. It's like once I don't have Hulu and I don't have Paramount Plus. So when I think Picard is on Paramount Plus as well, right? So I don't. I am a Star Trek fan. I just don't have that streaming service, so I miss out on all of it.
Well, I'll tell you, the Star Trek stuff, I've never been a huge Star Trek fan, but these guys have gotten me into it, and it's worth it. Like, all the Star Trek stuff they put on there is pretty fantastic.
Cool.
Well, this is going to be our little bit of Star Trek, so I'm super excited. I'm sure you saw it on Twitter. Found out that Kate Mulgrew is going to be at GalaxyCon in July. Yes, he's over here, so I'm sure. And I'm so excited. I'm like, fingers crossed she does not cancel, because that is going to be like my ultimate.
You gonna go take a picture?
Dude, I want picture autograph. I want to hold my look.
Yeah.
I've already got my ticket. I'm done. I'm ready. I'm set. I'm ready to go.
I'm going to that one. Me and Zoe are going to that one next year, so I'll meet up with you.
Oh, and I'm working on a Stellar cosplay.
Yes, I was gonna say you could pull that off.
but I'm working on a Star Wars cosplay, so that's the one. But I decided to get the tickets to do like the whole weekend. So I got the black one because I've already been to 2, and I'm like, I'm not waiting in those lines. No, I'm not about to do that.
You're past that. You're a veteran now.
So what's your cosplay going to be?
I have a Lego character here. I don't know if you can see that.
It's proportionally accurate.
That's yours. I'm so excited. I want to see pictures. You're going to do the whole
Yes.
high dress?
There will be pictures everywhere, because it's I've got my headpiece is actually over here. I've got to work on that.
Got your
I want to see it.
So it's gonna be something. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be epic. I just hope I can pull it off.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. But that's one of the reasons why I want to do like the whole weekend thing, so I can like pick a day to do this and pick a day to do that, because I had an absolute blast this year. I got some photos and autographs of like just like some sweetest folks ever. But other than that, I mean, and then also I found out as well, it was announced today that Gates McFadden, which is Beverly Crusher from Next Generation, she's going to be there too. So I'm like, please give me more. Give me more.
And there will be too. It's so far away. There's going to be so many more people who sign on to come.
I know, and that's the thing about it. That's what's going to be so exciting about it. Because year before last, Stephen Amell was one of the last ones that came on. I jumped on that, and actually Brendan Fraser this year, he was like one of a last minute one. So I'm
jumped on that one.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see who will, maybe, I don't know. It's just we'll see. I'll just keep up with the little announcements and stuff. So.
I think you're going to see some more Picard Next Generation people. I mean, because that falls right in line time wise for season 3. So
I'm telling Jonathan Frakes. That'll be it. For me. That'll be absolute.
I hear you.
Oh, that'll be it. That'll be it.
You get a group picture? That would be awesome.
It's actually Exxon and Matt Lautner. They had been there for the past couple of years, and that's fun. It's always fun to see folks like that, especially like group photos and all that kind of stuff. So it's starting off really fantastic.
That is awesome.
Like, ooh. Cool. Okay, so that's my little Star Trek date for tonight.
Hey. Well, if I finish my cosplay in time, we'll take some pictures together. We'll be the Star Wars people there amongst all the Star Trek things.
Well, they have the costume contest, and I'm like, if I'm going through all this, I will be there.
I mean, if mine looks legit enough, I'll do it. But I just got to see how it is.
What are you doing?
I'm doing Revan. I got to figure out something that can have a big face mask to cover the beard, so I don't have to shave the beard.
You might have to
Dude,
trim
I
it.
got a mask. I got a helmet. All you gotta do is just
I know,
hold it up
but
there, but
see, I found a couple of them. I found one that's got like a really long front to it, and then I found some that have the kind of short front to it. I'm like, well, it depends on, because by then I'm probably going to be about to here.
Well, that way you can kind of like braid it and pin it up. I mean,
You have to braid it.
That's a good idea. It'll be long to braid by then. That's a great idea. Probably.
I mean, I might
Then you just do Durin,
if
you'll
it's
be
cold enough,
fine.
I might bring Revan out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, if it's
great
cold
idea.
enough for Halloween around here, I might bring Revan back out again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
so.
have always wanted. Never mind. I won't bring that up. Never mind. I have to shave my head for that one. I'm not doing it.
Skin cap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you got a lot-
guess.
you
I
got a
don't know.
lot of
They
hair,
always
though.
look funny. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got a lot of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem. So yeah, it's all down here for me. But
But
all right.
Ventress, I would love to do Ventress once.
That would be
Ooh,
fantastic.
that would be a
yeah.
badass one. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd love to do that just to have the lightsabers. Like I don't
Yes,
even care.
I want
I just
those
love to have
sabers.
because it's the baddest ass lightsabers. Like that's my choice of lightsaber right there. Is that one? Oh my god, it's so beautiful. But
But like I said, just the
Saber.
thought of being a Togruta, that's just going to be that's going to be nuts.
Ross, you gonna come as a
Someday.
solo? Come on, you can do it, man. I know you got the gun.
Solo?
I know you got the gun. Come on.
I mean, it seems like a pretty simple cosplay. If you're going to do it, you might as well put some effort into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All you gotta do is have a jacket and a gun and a belt, and you're good to go, man. You know, you got the swag too.
Oh, look at White Chocolate Espresso's comment.
Zombie Han Solo with Ben on it. Yeah, one way to do it. All right, well, let's get into a show then. We got She-Hulk and we got Andor left. Let's do Andor first. Save She-Hulk for last because I feel like that one's gonna be the spiciest talk. So Andor. Ross, we left last week. I'm gonna start with you with this one. We left last week, and you were saying you were hoping that the heist was going to be an entire episode. We got it all wrapped up in one. We did. What do you think?
The way that they pit this whole show with I love the 3-episode arc frame, and if they stick with it, I'm completely fine. If we get 2 full seasons of nothing but like 3-episode arcs, cool. The character building they did in the last episode really paid off in this one. But everything was good. I think I was a little disappointed in the deaths.
Okay.
I really think that was the only way, but it shows also that the rebellion is starting to muster up like a speed, and now that we finally have that coming and it's actually happening, it's weird to see them falling on their face, they didn't. The lieutenant didn't think far enough ahead, to make sure that no one was going to come and bother them whenever they were doing the heist.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we got a Star Wars heist, by the way. A heist in anything is always fun. So it was just, there's so many good things. I don't want to rob them right off the bat here. I just think that seeing the progression in Andor and like Cassian as a whole is really cool. And I think that now that we're through 6 episodes, halfway through this season, it shows you the way that they kind of have this whole thing planned out. And I was worried that there's going to be too much jumping back and forth because we already got Rogue One, and I thought that they were going to play and like lean really heavy on that, and they're not. So I'm really satisfied with the pace, even though a lot of people say it's a slow burn or whatever they want to call it. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
It's giving me all the little tidbits, the bad characters. We don't even know enough about the ISB yet. We don't know enough about really much of anything, and they've just left so much open. And we're halfway through this now, and there's so much left to go with the characters that they have, and that makes me excited.
Okay. Laurie, I don't know your Star Wars knowledge or fandom, but you did just drop Ventress in there, so I think you got to be more than the average bear. So let's hear your thoughts. How are you liking Andor?
I'm enjoying it. It's not for your casual Star Wars follower because there's no Jedi, there's no, you know what I mean? There's none of that. There's no Yoda. There's not even cute little baby Yoda. It's just, it's a heist based in this world. And it's a lot of the political and background story that we haven't gotten before. I do think it is also a slow burn. The first couple episodes, I'm like, why am I watching this? Where are we going? But eventually when you get to them making the crew and what's the actor's name? Bill Skarsgård, when he showed up, right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Stellan Skarsgård?
Yes.
His character.
Yeah, when his character shows up and he's like, I don't need to know his name, but I was just like, when that guy shows up and he's like, I'm not here for the parts, I'm here for you. It's like, oh, there's more going on. Yes. So, the last episode when the heist was happening, I was really excited to see how it was going out. I knew stuff was going to go wrong, and I was anticipating that a few of them would die. Especially when they foreshadowed that, like, hey, if one of you dies, he can do pretty much all of your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we brought him in. And I was like, oh, so
he's the fail-safe.
It's high risk, So they knew what they were going into, that it was high risk and that they probably weren't going to all walk out together. But I was just interested to see how it played out and like who died and how they died. And that one character, the one guy that was alive and then he shot him at the end. What's his name?
Ski?
Oh, Skeen?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was by far the most interesting character of them all, where he was like looking at his gear and able to tell who he was. And it was like, read my tattoos, like tell me who I am. So he's like gauging how perceptive he is and like pulls off this crystal. He's like, I knew it. So that character, I think, really carried the last 2 episodes that we watched. He really made the drama, the tension, but he also was the most interesting part of that, revealing who Andor was to this group, so that way everybody was kind of on the same page and knew who he was. And then, of course, at the end where he was like, let's split the money. And it was like, oh, this is bad. So
I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you. That one caught me by surprise.
I didn't see it either when he shot him. And I was just like, that's one way to deal with that. I guess that's the way out, because how do you get out of that? I was like, what's going to stop him from killing you once you drop him off at the planet? With all the money, he's going to be like, thanks, and then you're dead. You can't trust this guy anymore. So he did the right thing. He was just like, yeah, you're dead. He's like, I'm just taking my cut. I'm not taking yours. He's like, but I'm getting the heck out of here. So it's like, where's he going now? He's still looking for his sister. Where do you go? So we have his sister involved. We have that guy from, the corporate, whatever, the one cop that like big blunder.
Cyril Karn.
That guy, so something is coming with him still. It's like he went home to mama, but things are not done with him.
No. He's definitely got something else.
And then we got Mon Mothma and whoever this character is that Bill Skarsgård is playing. So I'm interested
Luthen
to see
is the best. I love watching him.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that scene that he had when he went through that transformation on the ship, I was like, whoa.
What did I what? And then all the stuff in that back room, I was like, wait, go back.
Yeah, Ross said he paused it. What do you think, Sarah? You still liking it?
I mean, I like it. I mean, it's still trying to see this in I guess in the Star Wars world, because like I said, it just feels so realistic, because it's like, like if I was in this is the world I would be in. The world I would be in would have nothing to do with Jedi or nothing to other stuff. I'd probably just hear it like, I'd probably be in like an Outer Rim world or something. It's like nobody knows what the hell's going on. I will say this episode had a little bit more, spunk to it. It was, as I've heard you guys, sitting there talk about it. This particular episode reminded me a lot of the Solo movie. I don't know if it was just with the heist or some of the characters, but it was just very reminiscent. Because like now I'm because I just watched it last night, so it's just very reminiscent of that kind of pacing, I guess you could say. I will say that the visuals in this one was really awesome, because that was what meteor shower or whatever it was. I mean, that was super cool. That was super cool, because I mean it was like, whoa, you can imagine yourself sitting there, seeing that. It's just like, wow, this is great. And
how scary was it? They were inside of that.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? I mean,
without any kind of direction, really.
It's like no different than being in an asteroid field, but the asteroids are going a little bit faster. They're actually moving. I think with the deaths, I think it, as far as like being a part of the rebellion, especially with the younger fella, him not making it, it's, you do have that kind of stake. To me, it kind of made it feel more real, because I think if everybody had made it out without this happening, I don't think it would have felt as like, okay, this it's getting real now. You know, we sit here like that crowd, they had sat there and talked about it for so long, and then Andor Cassian comes in and he's like, you guys don't even know, you don't know yet, because when you get you can talk about it all you want to, you think you can prepare for it, but once you're in the midst of it, there's a lot that's going to be a lot of moving parts, and I don't think you guys have realized, you know, especially the fact of how even getting the transport to move. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just like, some of those,
clue
like,
what you're doing.
You've got to kind of bring a seasoned guy in, you know, it's just like, you hadn't even thought about that? What? Yeah, so I mean, it's, and with Scheme, that threw me off too, because, you know, there's having this, or it's not really conversation, you know, he's saying what he's saying. I'm like, is this guy for real? Is he joking? Or is he just kind of like throwing it out there, saying a what if scenario?
Is he
Apparently not, because it was just like out of nowhere. You're just like, whoa, okay. I guess Cassian didn't like that talk, so he just went, you know, just did his own little thing. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm hoping there's a little bit more like that, because like I said, the previous episodes I felt like more of a build up, but like you said, it's like a build up to what? I mean, we've met some really cool characters. I think, you know, there's probably a lot of speculation as to where we can go with this, but I'm just kind of along for the ride, honestly. I mean, it is interesting because, you know, it's, you know, one of the Star Wars type deals where you don't have like the typical, you know, like what you would expect. And I mean, and it's fun, but then again, sometimes you're kind of like, it makes you think. Maybe
you're waiting for the story to unfold. This is what you're doing.
I mean, there's an anticipation, you know, build up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's cool, but I give you a little bit throughout. So that's why I kind of like this episode. I mean, yeah, it is a little more faster paced. Yeah, I mean, give it that a little bit. I mean, because you can only have so much drama. But I mean, it's been interesting thus far.
Yeah. Well, you know, the entire series so far has been building up this heist, so this almost felt like a finale. Because beyond this, we don't really know where it's going after this. Like everything else before, we've known, okay, this is what they're working towards. Now they've accomplished this heist. We have no idea where the show is going in the future. So it's almost like watching a second season coming up. I did want to say, going back to Ross's comment, the lieutenant doing a better job of making sure nobody... I think he did a good job of that. Remember, it was just that one high-speed radio guy that intercepted their frequency. Otherwise, they would have never known they were there. So I think he did a good job of that, but it was just, you know, you knew something was going to happen. I literally was on the edge of my seat with this show. Like there'll be some shows where I'm watching and like I can know what's going to happen, or I have an idea what's going to happen. This show, I knew people were going to die in the heist. I knew Andor was going to make it, and it'll only be in Cassian and the head girl, right? Were the only two that ended up surviving the whole thing. So only two of them made it out.
Well,
but like the whole time,
Nemec actually died.
Oh no, the one that stayed behind, she in the uniform. She was holding them hostage.
Yeah,
she walked out.
That's Cinta.
She walked out. Okay.
Yes.
Cinta walked out, but did Nemec the boy? Did he actually die on the table?
He died.
Yeah, he died. Okay.
Yeah, because
they
pulled
the sheet over him.
That's right, because they gave him the book. That's right.
Yeah. I will say with Skeen, that actor, I've only seen him in one other thing before, and it was The Bear. He was in The Bear. It's a cooking show, not a cooking show. It's like a 8-part drama series on Netflix. It's got the guy who plays.
Was he the brother?
It's got the guy who plays
the older brother.
He was the older brother,
or the cousin. It was a brother or cousin.
Yeah, something like that.
Who that guy was.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever seen him in, and he plays the same character, this asshole. Like I look at this guy, and it's like I'm either going to be your best friend, or I'm going to want to fight you every time I see you. One of those two things. Like you either love this guy, or you fucking can't stand him. And he played that role well. He plays that guy. I hate stereocasting this or typecasting one character, one actor, but I haven't seen him in anything else. So I thought he did a good job. But Skeen's death really surprised me. Like I didn't know what Andor was going to do.
That's the thing. And so like what you're going to say, because I mean, now everyone's talked about the death of him. It's such a parallel because you have him and Andor were kind of the same person, right? Like Skeen went through his stuff, and they sat there and looked through all of his stuff. They had that little moment where they were talking about their prison and their childhood and whatever it took them to actually grow up and be the people that they are right now. And then when Andor came out and said that he was only about the money, Skeen played on that in the end. And then what you just saw was character progression with Cassian, and he ended up shooting him because
he was in the Punisher.
Was he?
Scheme.
shit, which one?
2017 series.
Oh, okay. The Netflix series.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But did Cassian look
Yeah.
surprised that he shot him? He just kind of
yeah,
did it. He was like, I'm like,
He
did,
Almost
looked
like it was
surprised
a
the first time
knee-jerk
he shot
reaction.
somebody.
You know?
I mean, it's like, did you think it through, or was it just like a rash decision? And you're just like, oh,
Totally rash.
what did I do?
I think he thought it through because really there was no way out of that situation at this point. If he disagrees with this guy, the guy's going to kill him. If he takes him to where he wants, the guy's going to kill him, right? And then if he rats him out, they won't believe him.
True.
So,
But I think
which
with
could
3
get
days,
him killed.
3 days with all these people has shown Andor a little bit about what Luthen wanted him to be and to see.
Mhm.
And, where they pulled the kid out. Cassian had nothing,
Right.
really, like no plans in life. He wasn't exactly going anywhere.
Right.
And so when Luthen gave him purpose, it took him a few days to see it and to realize that, what, if these are the type of people that are out here stealing money like this, and they have no experience, then what could he do? And then I feel like that moment with Skeen was kind of like a moment to where he took it upon his own self to just be like, no, this is about the cause. Like, I think that, we finally crossed the point with Cassian to where like he's starting to see it, and the little kid really helped push him in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But then he took his money and left.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. That's what he said, but we haven't seen. It went straight to Luthen after that, right?
On to another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that
we'll see in the beginning if he's with her still, then it might be telling, what his decision actually is. But
I think you'll see him go back to Luthen at least, or Luther at least. Is it Luthen or Luther?
Luthen with an N.
Luthen. Okay. I think you'll definitely see him go back to him at least, because now you just got this big payday from this guy. Now it looks like you've almost got a bookie. Or a pimp.
That's right.
So somebody to get you a source of money. The thing I didn't like about Skeen's death scene, I didn't like the way he walks in and explains it. He's like, I killed him. And then I know,
I was like,
there's like two more sentences, and then that's it.
More information.
Yeah, nothing else.
Like, your buddy out there tried to buy me.
Yeah,
and everyone's waiting for her to say what.
Yeah.
It was a test. That's what all my brain could sit there and think about was her to be like, wait, you killed him? That was a test.
Well, first she was like, where is he? And he was like, oh, he's dead. So, what?
It's like, all right, well, we'll see what happens.
Okay, then.
And then I did like Luthen at the end, how he's doing his trading, and then he hears the guy talk about the rebel hit on the Imperial base, and he's like, you see him walk to the back and smile, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, because that's the only way he would have to hear about it like that to know that it was a success. Like the way how secretive they're being, there's really no way for him to know otherwise. I mean, I guess he would have found out in a few days somehow, but it's cool to hear about it like that. It'd be like if you were at a comic book shop and somebody mentioned your comic book to you, not knowing who you were. It's like, oh yeah, I know about that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, someone was like, hey, I just saw this Kickstarter for Path of the Pale Rider. And I'm like, oh, really?
You should check that one out.
Yeah. I just checked that one out. It's really cool. I'm like, that's me. I'm like, oh.
Always fun stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else about this episode. I thought it was crazy. Every time I've ever seen credits, they're always like chips, like square chips. It looked like they were like poker chips in this episode. Like, I don't know if they have different types of credits for different areas.
I mean, dude, credits are all over the place. I mean, you look at Mandalorian,
but they're Imperial credits, right? It should be like one standard. That's what everybody uses, Imperial credits, right? I guess there's money everywhere. Imperial credits are like universal.
Yeah, the whole process is that like when the Imperial comes in, they start changing out everyone's money, and like you see that in the animated shows and stuff like that, where they come in and start doing that. Yeah, prime example. But yeah, I thought the whole actual like heist physical scene was just crazy in itself, because it seemed like it was a lot to do and it was really heavy, and it didn't seem like they were prepared for that as much as they had talked about it. And I love the fact that they took the main dude in charge and made him work his ass off, because watching him sweat was just a moment of pleasure for me. I'm like, oh yeah.
The best part down over though was bad timing.
Yeah.
The best part is when he's putting on his little cummerbund and he's like, somebody stored this improperly. Yeah, like it's shrank. Somebody stored this improperly. I'm like,
he's
no,
like,
that's not the way things
I don't
work.
think so. You might have swallowed a little bit.
It's not the way
Fat
things
cat.
work, dude. So,
I love all the visuals in the show. Or I mean, like just talk about like the TIE fighter scene.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching the physical fighters jump down into their TIE fighters was like that's cool. You don't get to see that kind of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sarah already said it, but man, I was right off the bat. I'm like, if this is gonna be a famous meteor shower, this is gonna blow. And then like the Rainbow Bridge broke out. You know, I mean, it was just nothing but a sky of colors, and it was beautiful. But then, like to the flip side of that, like when the radios go out and they knock everything out on the base, such all that 70s button technology, and when the radios aren't working, dudes are just button smashing everything.
Switches, and just like
How does it work? I don't know. Just keep hitting it until something happens. Well, I mean, and something happened. So
yeah. Well, it's like the interface for any computer program on any television show is made it so the viewer can understand it. So they're just buttons. I know all this stuff. Buttons. This is the protocol for when this goes out. You hit this one. And I was like, wow, okay, that works. But that
there's
high
no
speed
GUI
guy
in that century. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
No interface.
But yeah, man, Andor's kicking it pretty good. I got a friend at work that says he wants to wait until it's completely done before he binges it. I'm like, dude, that's you got quite a while before that happens. And then I got people that are not Star Wars fans ask me about it. I told them, like, you don't have to know anything about Star Wars at all. And you could like this. Like literally the TIE fighters and the Empire are about the only thing Star Wars, and an Empire could be anything. I don't even think they've mentioned Force, lightsaber, not one thing. And it's cool because in a galaxy so big, that's the way for most people it would be. Like, exactly. I highly doubt that most people would have ever seen a Jedi in their life.
Right.
Like I said, you would hear like if it was only, it would be kind of like you'd hear like the legend of it or just stories of it.
Right.
Maybe. Right. But it depends on what planet you were on as well, because you had Outer Rim. You had. I thought it was cool. When they came to Coruscant, so you're like, oh yeah. This is
Coruscant.
Brought in the
story,
Senate
right?
and that kind of thing. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff is happening on the outer planets.
Yeah.
Like Rebels.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right. You're saying Coruscant's a different story as far as like seeing Jedi and everything.
Well, that's
what I'm saying. I mean, because you're going to different planets, but like I said, majority of this stuff is, it would be outside of that realm.
Right.
I think the only reason
where the rebels have to be.
Yeah, and the only reason with the Mon Mothma is because that's like the political aspect of it, which will eventually come into play. But right now you're like really like the birth of it. Instead of saying, oh, we're just, I don't even think they called themselves rebels to begin with. It was just kind of like, we're just going to do this. But literally then they started talking with like a rebellion. So literally that's like the birth of what you're seeing. It's like these little skirmishes. And I think that's what we're going to see.
They're opening capital.
That's right.
Yeah. My only like pushback against that is that the clone separatist wars were everywhere, and not only that, but Star Wars has really doubled down on the whole scavenging thing after those wars. I mean, you've seen it in video games. You've seen it
movies.
This show had like some scavenging right off the bat too. It's just it's everywhere because of all of the war that has happened throughout the universe, or whatever they want to call their little known section. Now, like to see Jedi off planet, probably much more difficult than you would believe. But I mean, you gotta imagine that clearly like on Coruscant, you have all of them there. But I don't think that going forward, Star Wars needs to lean on Jedi or Sith or any of that real hardcore. I think that, if you want to tell like your crescendo story, then by all means, like throw them in there. But really, people just want to know about Star Wars. Solo didn't hit the box office because of a lot of different reasons, not because it didn't have Jedi in it.
Right.
Because it's not always, you don't always have to have Force people. You don't always have to have like the Force. There's other people within the universe that, it's like regular people. Not everybody Force sensitive. So.
See, I can agree with you on that to a certain extent, Ross. You don't have to have that stuff in there, but give me a Bane trilogy
that's
set
what
of
I'm saying.
movies any day of the week, and I'm like, okay, I want that over anything. Give me some Knights of the Old Republic over anything. I would like these stories that are like in between actual Jedi, stories. Give me Jedi and Sith outside of the Skywalker saga.
Yes.
I think that's what I want. Like, I can deal with stuff that's not Jedi and Sith too, like this, but I do still want that. I just want something different than the Skywalker saga, because there's so much more in this universe than just that. And quite honestly, a lot of it's better storytelling. Like the Bane trilogy is it for me, man. Like I want to see that played out somehow, some way, because it's just effing amazing. So
look what they did.
I mean, this is just like a sliver of it, and that's the great thing about Star Wars, is because you can take slices of different eras or areas, that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily, you can focus in on one area, and right now we're like the birth of the the rebellion. So I mean that's that's a pretty part of the history. So, and I'm all about, like I said, we've been through the Skywalker saga. Hey, that's great. I'm all for, like I said, Knights of the Old Republic, or pull me back to where all this happened, with the hell how the Sith came in. I don't, give me some history. That's what I love about this. It's like there's so much you can pull from this.
There's a lot.
So I mean,
and like about the rule of two.
That's why I love the Bane. That's why, because that's gonna, right there.
Right.
That's where you start to really instill that.
I get to a point to where, like, I'm with you and I say that, but I haven't done the first thing with all of this new content they've been bringing out. I have not.
You're talking about the new books?
The first thing with it, yes.
I bought all of them. I've read.
The New Republic.
Yeah, I've bought all of them, and I've read not read, but listened to like the first 3 chapters of the first one, and it's just nothing like any of the other Star Wars books. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, but it hasn't drawn me in enough to where I want to listen to it. Like when I started Bane and Thrawn and all that stuff, like as soon as I started, I wasn't doing anything else, listening to anything else till I finished it.
Yeah.
These weren't like that. When I turned them on, I was like, and I don't know, it may be Mark Thompson, the voice. I'm not sure.
I think it's a large part of it's very much generational. I mean, I don't think that they've done enough to connect it to other stuff. And even though, like, if they want to tell their own story going forward, this is their way of planting the seeds. The comic books, the books, and like now they're in phase 2 and they're beefing everything up, on their own story. But at the same time, too, I mean, the people that are in this right now that are spending money are the people who watched all of it growing up.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can be fighting a war on different fronts here, but I mean, until you come out with like a High Republic movie or like television show that can find a way to get me into it without, look, I got no problem reading, but that's more work than I want to put into it right now.
The visuals too. I mean, because reading is fantastic. The audiobooks, actual books themselves. I mean, it's fantastic, but to actually put something on a screen, whether it's, the small or the big screen, it just, you want to see this world.
Right.
You want to see this. Like I said, there's, I'm absolutely love Revan. I mean, any, form or fashion. I mean, that's my boy. But, I've read the book, I haven't played the video game that my husband has in the past. And, there's a lot there, but it's a lot different to see something, to see. I want to see this iteration, and with Star Wars, I mean, haven't been really disappointed with a lot of it. There's been plenty of books that I've wanted to see, turned into films, and it's happened. And I'm like, why did they do this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what the hell were you thinking? But I mean, it's just to have that visual. I just want to, because I have something up here, but I would just love to see it there. So I mean, that's my thing. I think it's just so fun to see that. I mean, it's
one-off movies don't do very well right now. All of these things that we watch create universes, and so when Star Wars already has a universe, the problem is it's like, do they go the route where they can tell a one-off story and give that to the people, and then like, put it in a box and put it on the shelf? Or can they not help themselves? And the moment they bring something out, they have to just keep building on it. And so I wish that they would have told one-off stories before they even bothered picking up the sequel trilogy. And then they moved on to like having this, the television universe that they're building is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
And they put the right people in it, and it's working out pretty well. Like just to focus on Andor, this is the first half of the first season, so this is a quarter of the show. I'm more than happy with what they've given us in the 6 episodes, even though it has taken a minute to get there. It has shown you that, we don't know anything about this kid, where he grew up from. We don't know that much about his past. We watched him shoot now 2 people, well, more, but like 2 people without really having like just with like noticeable feelings, like emotions on his face. And so like it shows that, like he's still trying to figure this out for himself. He's still trying to figure like himself out. Like, am I a killer? Like, what am I doing? Like, what's important? Mm-hmm. And so now he actually has a successful mission underneath his belt. So going forward, we get to find out, how he becomes the one-off person with K2 that he ends up being in Rogue One. So I'm happy with that. I want to see that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy with the direction Star Wars has been going in the last few years. They had the last movies come out, and there was so much turmoil with that, and then now they're starting to level out again. And it looks like I just hear good things from people about everything they're coming out with lately. I haven't heard a lot of bad stuff, so it's nice to see it going in the right direction. It's always fun when the universe you love doing well. So,
Laurie, what did you think about Obi-Wan real quick? Did you like the series?
Oh, yeah.
Yes and no. Like the concept in it itself was hard for me because it's like Obi-Wan as a character is so badass. And it's like when we started, we all knew we were going to get Obi-Wan who was hiding, had to pretend to not be a Jedi or just didn't want to participate anymore. So it's like, how many episodes do I have to watch a badass pretend to be a sheep? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I was just like, oh, it needs to end a lot quicker because we want to see Obi-Wan do the things, because he's so powerful. It's like, yes, he had to have some character growth, but it's just such a hard time if like we only get 6 episodes and 3 of them are him being like, no, I don't want to do the thing. It's like,
just do
why
the
else do
thing.
we watch you do the thing?
Right.
Like, get out the lightsaber and get over yourself and start helping people because that's what we want to see from you. Mm-hmm. So, and again, we were on Tatooine, so it's like, man, we're on the sand again. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I'm not going to complain anytime. We got some spectacular fights between him and Darth Vader. He got lit on fire. And then like it kind of fixed some of the canon where Obi-Wan tells Luke later on, he's like, Darth Vader killed your father. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like, that never made any sense. And that's kind of how they made it make sense, where Anakin was like, I am, I did this to myself. I am who I am. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it kind of wrapped that up, but yeah,
they definitely undersold the rematch of the century.
Yeah.
It was a good fight. But
I mean, like if you would watch some of the other stuff, you've seen some really good fights with Darth Vader. Like Rebels, when he and where he shows up in a fight where there's like Darth Maul is there. Then am I spoiling things?
No, you're not spoiling it. I already know a lot of stuff that happens, but I haven't seen the last 2 seasons of Rebels yet, and they continually get
every single episode. We're just gonna keep it going.
I know.
Why do you not watch Rebels?
Rebels
is one of the best shows there is, man.
It's a really good show. I will give you that. The first 2 seasons were great.
They're casting like Ezra Miller into the live action stuff at this point. So it's like, you better get caught up, sir, because you're going to miss out.
I know it. I hear it every week. And I got a long weekend next weekend. I might try to squeeze some in. But it's one of those things, once I start it, I know that I'm going to finish it like probably within that day or the next day.
You'll have to binge it.
Yeah, I got to find the time to binge. Like I got to sit down and like wake up one morning where there's no football or there's no other podcast for me to do, or I don't have to go to work and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today and do it. But
yeah, and I usually throw it on while I'm doing other stuff and like I'll forget what I'm doing because it's that good. So it's like folding laundry and you're like, laundry is forgotten. You know what I mean? It's just, it's so good.
It'll get warm. Then it'll be full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, just loving Star Wars. I think we are all here big Star Wars heads, which is great. So it's always fun to talk Star Wars with a bunch of people who love Star Wars. But Andor's doing great. Loving this series. Like I said, this felt like a finale for me. I'm so happy that I have 6 episodes left.
We're done already? Like, when are we getting Ashoka? When are we getting more of her?
Will we get the
next year?
Jedi?
is I don't know if they wrap filming, but I've assumed that it's probably 3 to 6 months after that. I know that they were filming it during was it Celebration? I haven't heard anything about reshoots yet. So
Okay.
Well, we also get Tales of the Jedi too, isn't that Ahsoka Dooku?
Tales of the Jedi comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and that's like 6. What is it? Three
Six
episodes,
episodes,
3 on Ahsoka,
3 on Dooku.
Okay,
and that's
That should be
animated. And then
Okay.
I'm
Is
not
that-
sure if they're gonna push Ahsoka until after. Oh, I'm assuming they're gonna push it until after the Mandalorian. So Mandalorian comes out in February, I believe.
you might get a little Ahsoka in there too.
Okay.
I don't know if they're gonna dip that in there or if they're just going to come out. And I would be under the assumption that they're probably going to come out with it after Mandalorian, like
I would think
maybe
so.
a couple weeks after. Because if they keep the way that they do business on Disney Plus is they, just like any other streaming network, they try to, drip feed you so that you keep paying for their service. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one fight between Ashoka and the lady with the Beskar staff, that was Diane Inosanto, by the way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with who she is. No?
Mm-mm.
There's a man named Dan Inosanto who was basically Bruce Lee's right hand in JKD, and he teaches Kali and Eskrima as well. And it's his daughter, Diane Inosanto, who also heads up like the Kali Eskrima International Society. So she's really well known in the martial arts community. So when she came out, I was like, what? I was like, she's in Star Wars. It was really cool. So from a martial arts standpoint, they're getting martial arts celebrities into which is not a first time thing because the guys from the raid that do Penchak Silat were in one of the Force Awakens, not the Force Awakens. Yeah, the Force, when they found that was the first one when they were on the they found God damn it, they were on the freighter. And then like those aliens there were a big ball that were like rolling around and eating people.
the Raftars.
The Raftar, thank you. I don't know the names to any of these things, but yeah. And Han Solo was there. Remember, like Han Solo was like he owed all these people money, and all of a sudden they just kind of all showed up. One of those crew was the martial arts crew that was in the raid, and they made an appearance there. They didn't do any martial arts, but they just got eaten by the Raftar things, and it was funny.
Well, they also had Ray Park too. Isn't he a big martial artist?
Oh yeah, huge. But I mean, like he actually did stuff though. Like Diane Inosanto did stuff, but like the guys that showed up from the raid, they just stood there and they're like, "You owe us money," and then they got eaten by the Raftar. So I mean, like it was just like a cameo appearance, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it's like, why would you pay for these big martial arts stars to show up and then just eat them? I don't know.
Right. That makes sense.
I would do anything to be in Star Wars.
I would too.
Yeah, I would too.
They were really excited, and I was like, "Ooh, there's gonna be a fight," and there was no fight.
White Chocolate talked about Danny Yen. Danny Yen was definitely in there too.
Oh, Donnie Yen, yeah, in Rogue One, amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All of them though, man. I mean, like they don't hesitate. What I see Disney doing more and more is putting those people up front and center, especially like when they don't need a name for anything, which if you look at Star Wars, they don't. It works out perfect.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, that was my 2 bits.
Anything else Star Wars, y'all? You want to tackle this last one that I can't help but smile when I say it because I've been thinking all day about the stuff I'm going to say about this show.
Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. I'm going to start She-Hulk off then. It's well known. This is not one of my favorite shows. I always put the reasons out there. And after every week when I watch the show, I always put a tweet out about my thoughts on the show. Mine. Every week so far when I put one out, I've just gotten a ton of hate from people telling me how wrong I am and how dumb I am for this and that and blah, 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 blah. Except today. Today was my favorite episode. Not because it was good, but because I was right. My tweet today was I love it when I say She-Hulk is terribly written and has no plot line and people say I just don't get it. Then literally in the last episode, the main character says this is terrible writing and has a terrible plot line. Proves me right. So this is my favorite episode because it completely proved me right. I've been saying the whole time in the show, it's going nowhere. The writing doesn't make sense, and I don't understand any kind of plot story going on. All culminates at the end to be exactly that. A big clusterfuck of characters that nothing is going on. And then they do the absolute, for me personally, the absolute dumbest thing ever with her breaking the fourth wall and going to now she is Jennifer Walters, the character, not the actress playing Jennifer Walters, somehow removed from the television show world universe to the real world to go meet robot Kevin Feige to rewrite her ending for her story, which guess what? The ending they rewrote didn't make any sense either. Like it didn't. It was just thrown in there. I was like, well, how do we get to this point? How do we get to this point? What is this about? This show did not work for me. I'm not saying that people can't like it. And I'm not saying if you do like it, you're dumb. I just don't personally get how I have some people saying this is one of the best things Marvel ever put out. And I get people have opinions, but when I've gone through the Infinity Saga, I've had Endgame, and I've had all these great shows that have come out after that. I just don't get how people can say this show's great. I love Green Lantern, the original movie. People hate it because they say it has bad CGI, terrible story writing, and that they brought the villains didn't make any sense in that. Well, guess what? This show's 10 years later, 12 years later, the exact same thing. Okay, the terrible CGI, bad story writing, and the characters don't make sense. The hypocrisy of this show is just beyond me. Like I can't stand the hypocrisy of this show, but I just don't understand how people can say with all this stuff it's so great. I mean, I do get it to a certain extent because I always champion for Zack Snyder stuff for Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League. People are like, oh, well, that's not very well fleshed out or well written, but it's actually really, really well fleshed out and very descriptively written and very, very accurate to stuff that happens. Not saying that the stuff in Marvel's not, but to say this is and that kind of stuff's not, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? This writing makes no sense. And if they're saying, well, that's what we meant to do from the beginning, then basically I can just make whatever crap I want to. And at the end say, we meant for it to be bad. And you got to like it. You got to accept that. And I'm just like, no, that doesn't work for me. That just doesn't work for me. So this show is worse than Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for me. It gets to the bottom of my list of all Marvel viewing. If you liked it, that's awesome. I'm glad you got something you liked. But for me, none of it made sense. And what I said from the beginning about it being terribly written and no plot line is exactly the finale they went with. So I called it, I guess. I don't know what to say. I know my rant. I've been thinking about it all day, the kind of stuff I was going to say. Somebody else take the helm. Sorry if I offended anybody with that. Yeah.
Go ahead, jump on it. Jump on it before I oppose every single view that he just described.
Do it.
I would say this was not for me. Apparently I didn't have the mindset that this was going for, because this last episode, I mean, at one point I actually fell for it. I was like, am I watching the SNL skit? I mean, that's the way it felt to me.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, because it's like when the menu came up, I literally looked up because I was watching phone. I literally looked, I was like, what just happened? I mean, because I thought my phone glitched. I mean, like, what? I thought that. I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? Because it was just going so off the rails. But I mean, now if I went back and probably watched it from that, knowing this, yeah, I could see that, but I just cannot take this seriously. And I don't know if it's just the fact I never read the source material. I never read the comics because I've been told countless times, she breaks the fourth wall. She does it. It's just not. It's not my cup of tea. I'm sorry. I mean, there's been some, like I said, a lot of it I felt was very satirical. I thought was very stereotypical. It was just, there was just some parts of it just like with Jen and then the stuff that she was dealing with, it just rubbed me the wrong way. But then, when now I will say this one probably was the best because it made me laugh the most. I'm not saying it was like good, but I mean, it did make me laugh. And I guess at that point is when I'm like, okay, is this what this is really all about? If this is what it's really all about, then what in the hell did I watch the last few, first few episodes? Because I'm like, I'm trying to take this seriously. And I guess the whole point is you don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I was just trying to come to grips with. I don't know, but I guess the think one of the one parts that I really like laughed out loud, other than when I figured out my damn phone didn't glitch, was, oh, She-Hulk, I smashed this, and this, and Matt Murdock. I was like, oh, okay. So we're just like, she ran away with that trophy. I mean, she was like, hey, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
But when she walked into like the whole scene or whatnot, and that was going off the rails really quick.
An actor speeding up real security guards in Marvel Studios. I was like, wait a second.
I'm just like, that was just like totally insane. But okay, well, apparently my daughter just lost a tooth, so y'all talk amongst yourselves. Give me a moment.
Gotta handle that. Oh yeah. Laurie,
I'll hop on that. So I was enjoying the series from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
If for me, I don't mind the silliness, and like I don't mind anything about it. Like I'll watch more of this, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the best written thing out there. I think that once we got to the She-Hulk versus Titania episode where she was copywriting the name She-Hulk, we kind of got a bunch of fluff, and it was like we weren't really developing the story anymore. I really enjoyed seeing Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk and seeing her in the courtroom. You know what I mean? Like representing Wong and like representing that frog guy who ended up being like, the episode with Daredevil was great. But when we got stuff that was like her versus Titania over the name, I was like, what am I watching? Why am I watching this? So I felt like it kind of like, it was a lot of fluff, and we didn't have that many episodes for there to be fluff,
Right. And they're like 22 minutes long.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like they could have spent more time on the story with developing her instead of having like the weird offshoots, like the wedding. Like the wedding actually had more meaning than the Titania one, because that's where she met Josh, and Josh was part of the cult, I guess. And like I get that, where she wanted people to accept her as both Jennifer and She-Hulk, and that's why Josh was important. And but still, what did the cult really want with her other than to steal her blood? I mean, it just, you know what I mean? Like the writing just kind of like fell short of what I was expecting, or where, I don't know. And there wasn't really much satisfaction at the end. But again, I like the silliness. I like having Daredevil there. I think the two of them together, I think seeing them as opponents in the courtroom was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping for that from the get-go when we knew he was going to be there. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. I like it. Okay. I like the silliness. I like where it's going, but some of the issues, some of the episodes, I'm just like, I don't think this was necessary, but okay. So that's where I'm at.
I hear you. All right, Ross, counter. Oh, good, sir.
Oh, wait, she's back.
No, I just want to say, sorry. She probably like half her tooth out. That's like weird. I don't know what's going on.
What came out?
It was like half her tooth. She was saying earlier, it's like half. This my kid. It's the young one.
Okay.
It doesn't surprise me. She's got these little teeny tiny baby teeth, and it looks like she cracked one, or the other one's like, just God, welcome to my life. But no, what Chocolate's saying, talking about the open scene.
Yeah, with the 70s, it was like, was that Lou Ferrigno in a wig?
See, that's what I was wondering too, because I grew up with that. I mean, because when I was probably like my daughter's age, it's like I remember when I saw the scene, when I saw the eyes, I was like, I had to run out the room because that terrified me. But then I'm just like, because when it opened, I'm like, what is the significance of this?
Just to pay homage to what came before.
Yeah, and then like you said, you saw like Hulk in a dress. I mean, literally Hulk, not She-Hulk, but Hulk in a dress. I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I don't really know how I felt about the nostalgic part. I'm like, I don't know if I really wanted that tied up into this. That was just kind of weird.
I mean, it was a nice little nod to the source material, but I mean, honestly, it feels like what happened was all these writers got into a room and they were like,
literally,
all right, everybody has an idea, put it on paper, and then we're just going to make all this stuff work. It doesn't matter if it comes together at the end. We're just going to stick all this stuff in there, make it work, for me. So, all right, Ross, tear me apart, man.
He's been sitting so quietly and smiling. So
he's been after us like the whole.
It's been constant, man. It's been 2-on-1 this whole time.
Right. I'm with you too. Like, I support what you're gonna say too, because I enjoy this series. Yeah. It's just that I feel like, compare it to like a Loki or, you know what I mean? It's just not the same.
Right. There's no stakes in this show. And
this is true.
That bothers a lot of people. And it's She-Hulk, and a lot of people have no knowledge or want to know She-Hulk. And that doesn't help people's cause in this fight. There's nothing about this show that people were clamoring for. So when you're trying to build interest, how do you do it?
Right.
I know, no, you're right. Like, why do you do it? And why do you do it? Is because you can't have 17 alpha superheroes in a room. You had the original 6 Avengers. 2 of them had no powers. Well, technically 3 of them, you got Iron Man in a suit, and you got Hulk, Captain America, and Thor, so really you were already, the whole premise of the Avengers was them all being too hard-headed in that movie, being too hard-headed to figure out, to get out of their own way and work together.
Yeah.
Well, She-Hulk's a real easy background character to throw into a big scene if you need her there. Why put her in her own show? Just to introduce it. And that's why I think the stakes are not high in this show, because they aren't planning on doing anything super duper serious with her.
Yeah.
The show suffered, and I've said it multiple times on here, from too short of a runtime.
Yeah.
But that too short of a runtime also meant they didn't have a whole lot of crazy content to go with it. I have been fine with the show watching it as a 20-something minute. I sit back and I laugh. I've said it before. It's the opposite of the super in-depth fantasy of all the other shows that we watch. I can just put it on, laugh, notice all the
so mindless, basically,
Easter eggs and stuff that they throw into it, and I'm perfectly fine with all that. And then I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm like I told you, like even my parents who are watching it, and they haven't seen, like my mom hasn't seen like anything Marvel. She sits back and she watches it, she laughs, and I'm like, okay, that's cool for you, I guess. You don't even get all the same stuff I get out of it. Like, intelligentsia is thick in Marvel. Like, they've been in, spanned across multiple hell, they've been in the MCU already. The thing is that no one pays attention to all those little connective dots because they are so small. They just blew it out of proportion in this show, and they did it in a way that made the Todd character like a real bad guy. The undertones a lot of people have problems within this show are taken out of context, I think. And I mean, that's I've always said you get out of something what you put into it. And if you come into it, like with certain opinions, I mean, that, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that, at the back end of it, like, you don't have to sit there and put the show into the ground whenever you're rating it on whatever site that people want to rate shows on. I mean, if it, like, say it again. If you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. I don't care.
True.
Like, I watch it because it's Marvel. And does it connect? No. Look, I like Miss Marvel a whole lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not crazy about She-Hulk. I just sat back and laughed when I watched it, and I turned it off.
Yeah.
You just didn't dislike it as much as me, is what it is. And
it's nowhere near the top, but to me, it doesn't deserve to be near the bottom because I don't feel like it's a show that's worth putting into a ranking. I mean, like, it's just a She-Hulk show, like, it stands on its side, like, I have nothing wrong with that.
I think my problem is like you said, Ross, you mentioned it. It's my expectations going into the show. Like, I didn't get anything about what I expected. Look, like, they're coming out with Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. And while I have an pretty decently extensive knowledge of, DC, Marvel, and, IDW, all these different genres or companies, they're just some characters I've just never read, and She-Hulk's one of them. I've read stuff with She-Hulk in it, but I've never read a She-Hulk comic. So I wanted to learn about She-Hulk. I really wanted to be blown away by She-Hulk. I was excited for it. And I like the actress who plays her, and I like the character She-Hulk. I don't like the CGI, but at the same time, I can get over that. It's just another thing to add to the list of things I complain about, but I can get over that. It's just that I didn't get the story I was expecting. I was expecting, like, I'm going to learn about She-Hulk and who she is and what she does and, like, her role in this universe. And I didn't get any of that.
I guess in essence we did, though. I kind of disagree. I guess in essence we did. It was like, it's just not as
concrete as what we have with everybody else.
True.
There's a whole panel on her talking to the writer of the comic book in a comic book. You know, I mean, like, so like none of this stuff that happens in this show is without previous She-Hulk precedent.
Fair point.
And like that's the other side of it. Like, I don't know enough to even begin to question what the people found out going into this to write this show. Like, I don't hold a candle to their knowledge, and they have everything at their fingertips available to them to write it. So, yeah, I mean, like Laurie said it perfect. You know, there was some fluff in some parts that didn't really feel like it would need to be there, but I think it went back to the whole underlying theme that I thought this entire show had, and that was Jen trying to figure out who the hell she was when she became She-Hulk. You know, because she was already confused about who she was to begin with. She thought that she was working the job that she wanted to work and her life was all going great. But I think that she was just on the road of like a road to nowhere. She accomplished things that she wanted to do, and then she didn't know what she wanted to do next. And then out of left field came She-Hulk. And then she had to figure out who she was being both people. And I think that was it. It wasn't super duper crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah. No, can't talk anymore. Sorry.
I just mute. Okay, so that's as long as I can stay quiet. Anyway, I heard someone was talking about the reason why She-Hulk was made originally, like the whole thing, the whole shebang, because this was back in the day when Marvel was selling off characters, and like Hulk, they lost a lot of rights to Hulk where they can't do a full-length movie anymore. Hulk could be a character inside other movies, but they can't do that original character movie because Sony owns part of the rights. So I think Marvel back in the day wrote She-Hulk so that Sony couldn't. And that was the whole reason why they wrote her. Like there wasn't like a big arc plan for her. There wasn't any intention to grow her as a character. It was solely for the reason so that Sony couldn't write her first and that they would have control of that character.
And they've done that with tons of characters. Look how many Spider-Man character people there are.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it even goes back to like the whole fourth wall thing. You know, like everyone gets mad because like the way that they portrayed the fourth wall. I'm like, well, you know, they're copying Deadpool or they're doing that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure She-Hulk did it first in anything.
Probably, yeah.
But the problem is that people saw it on screen with Daredevil or Deadpool first. And so, you know, that became what they knew.
It's also a slightly different wall breaking. Jen Walter's wall breaking and Daredevil's wall breaking is a little bit different.
Daredevil? Deadpool.
Sorry, Deadpool. Yeah, sorry. Red suit. We said double D's. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It's not double D's. And
all red versus ketchup and mustard.
There you go. There you go. I don't know, man. Well, let's talk about a couple things this episode then, other than She-Hulk. Like, I want to talk about the ending with Wong and Abomination. What's up with that? Like, just breaks him out of his prison? Like, is this some kind of deal he made for him as like a sparring partner? Like, hey, if you ever get locked up, I've got you.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know, the show's planting seeds. So if you're not getting anything out of it, you're gonna get future stuff out of it. So
and that makes sense. Them laying some groundwork for some stuff in the future. And
we're getting another Shang-Chi. Maybe they'll show up again in Shang-Chi.
Maybe.
You are. They set a date to it.
Okay, there you go.
Actually, I don't think that one has a date yet. The Marvel timeline did a shuffle, so
yeah, they did. I was going to say they moved the Blade one again, and I'm upset about that. Where they're leaning a new director, and I'm like, no.
They've been talking about Blade. Blade's like Flash for me. I'll believe it whenever I buy a ticket to see it.
I know, but I so want that movie.
They screwed up by talking about it. Is what they did. Same thing with Fantastic Four. Because we don't live in a culture of patience anymore. No. We have zero patience in this world.
Make it for me now, damn it. You have the ability.
That's why TikToks exist. Right? Like,
what
watch something for 15 seconds. Go.
Do what?
What?
What about Hulk's son?
Yeah, they brought him in at the end, right?
That came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Came out of left field.
But
I heard the rumor.
When he came in, he's like, sorry, I've been going to Sakaar, but I want somebody, and I want you to meet somebody. I was like, it's Scar. It's Scar. I know it is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there he is. I'm
He's
still
pouty.
like,
He was just like,
He's a teenager.
I'm here.
Yeah, teenager.
I'm interested how they're going to make that work because the comic book he was a little bit of a badass. So,
well, I'm assuming they're going to give us some kind of storyline about where Hulk was, what's going on. We're going to get some more background story for the Hulk and this whole thing.
Because how you going to drop something like that and just like leave it? It's like,
yeah,
like, okay, I need a little bit more with this one.
Right. What do I do with this information?
I know. It was just like, that was too much. It's just too much.
I
felt kind of like Matt Murdock, like with her family. It's like, oh, it's too much. You people are too much.
Yeah, I'll admit that was a pretty cool scene. That a funny scene. That little the Matt Murdock meeting her family, or having dinner with the family. I was like, okay, I can giggle with that. They use the show to introduce a lot of characters or to highlight a lot of characters, which is one of my big problems with the show. Is like when people complain that female-led shows don't get enough screen time, or you fridge a character for the betterment of another character, and they did that in almost every episode of the show, and they even brought it up, like joked about it, and I'm like, well, if this was done any other time, it would be looked at as bad, but y'all are doing it, and it's looked at as good, and you joke about it, but like, why is it bad for other people to do it, but you're doing it and it's good? That was one thing I had a problem with this show. I like the cameos, but it's like you are totally being hypocritical and going through a double standard here by doing this. Like, this is one thing we complain about. And I don't disagree with it. Sometimes female-led characters are fridged for the betterment of other characters, and it's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but it's like, it's what they did with this show, like constantly throughout the show. And I'm like, well, why? Like why? It gives people like me something to complain about like that. I'm like, why? But it's whatever, man. I mean, we had a lot of really cool cameos.
When you say fridging, what do you mean?
Well, fridging a character is like, in a lot of terms, it's killing a character for the betterment of another character. Like, and the term comes from I guess Robin's girlfriend being killed. I can't remember the actual comic, DC comic, and
there was one where someone was actually put in a refrigerator.
Yeah, and it was just to push the story forward. Who did they fridge? Else. Well, it's not necessarily killing anybody, but like you're taking this story of She-Hulk that's supposed to be about She-Hulk, and the entire episode is to introduce another character. So you're putting her story in the back burner to introduce this other character. And it's like, well, okay. Like I wanted to learn about She-Hulk, and it's cool to have a Daredevil cameo, and it's cool to have, Wong in there, but it's like, I don't know. It's like I said, it's my expectations. Like Robert said, I didn't get what I expected out of it. I wanted to learn more about She-Hulk, and I wanted to be more connected with his universe. It's not what I got. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean if you liked it, you're wrong for liking it. I just didn't get what I expected out of it, and that's my biggest thing. I doubt I'll ever go back and watch this show again. I'm sure if another season comes out, I'll watch it for the sake of covering it, because almost everything MCU puts out is really good. In fact, this is the one thing MCU put out. I can't remember the last time they put out something that I didn't like. To be truly honest, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And realistically, those are the only two things. Okay. I can understand that. I know a lot of people who have, and that's not one of my favorite ones, but it's not one that I got done watching and I was like, ugh, what did I just watch? I still to this day have not made it completely through Guardians of the Galaxy 2 without falling asleep. Yep. Still to this day. Every time I try to watch it, I fall asleep.
Ultron's never been my favorite.
With Baby Groot?
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's because Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is one of my all-time favorites. So it was like, for me, it was a huge drop-off.
Maybe the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is like one of the best openings in Marvel movie history.
But because of the music.
I didn't like the way that the characters, it seemed like they were strong in the first one, but the second one, it was just like they kind of dumbed them down, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
It's because all they did in the first one was fight until the very end. And so when they did finally come together, like how well do they work together versus fighting? And then when they were working together,
there was still something different with their personalities. It was not. There was something still to me felt off. It was just, I don't know. It was just something that was off.
Who was the writer? I felt like the comedy was a little too overboard. Kind of like what we got with Thor Ragnarok versus Thor Love and Thunder. It's like the comedy was there and it hit all the pacing when it was funny. And then like the next one, they kind of went too much. You know what I mean? Like, did
like
what to do that too? Yeah.
It was like forced. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a lot where like he's like, go look for the thing, and like no one can find the thing, and it was like during the battle, and it was supposed to be funny, but it just didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were some things that did, like Baby Groot and Rocket, when he was trying to teach him how to push the button, so he didn't kill everybody.
Does anyone
That
have any
was funny.
tape?
Yeah, he's like,
We need tape.
hey, push the thing. Now tell me how to do it. He's like, I'm Groot. I'm Groot. He's good. I'm Groot. No, you're gonna kill us all. Like, that was super funny. But then all the rest of it was dumb. So you know what I mean? So it just I think the comedy just didn't hit in that one.
And to be honest with you, this is the beautiful thing about Marvel and the MCU is they have so much stuff. They can cater to so many different people about what you like. You may not love this part of the MCU as much, but I really love this part. And guess what? Because of that, I'm in the MCU family, and that is cool. So like I said, I don't have to like everything. I mean, I think I'm like, for me, Marvel's like 27 of 29 now. I don't even know how many properties how many different shows and movies they have now, but they're almost batting 1,000. So I mean, they're still doing pretty well. It's just
they're always trying something new. They're always pushing the envelope. They were the first ones to go from like movies to series on a streaming and to continue with the same characters. You know, it's like we had WandaVision, and then we had Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was continuing the stories from the big screen after they got to a point where it's like, okay, we finished this whole first arc with all these different characters. Where do we go? You know what I mean? I think they did really well with everything, and they're starting to.
And that was like canon. I mean, like they just, you're right.
And so part of it too is just
trying something new, you know?
Yeah. Well, part of it too is fatigue. You know, we've talked about this before.
Yes.
I've gone through the whole Infinity Saga, and for me, that was damn near perfection.
Right.
It's going to be hard for them to top that for me. And now everything they come out with, I'm expecting them to top it. I'm expecting it to get better. And not saying it's not good if it's not better.
That's why people are upset about stuff is because they've seen what came before. But again, you have to remember how long it took them to get there and develop all these characters, and how many group movies did we have? You know what I mean? Where it's like they had their standalone, they had their origin story, they had their group stuff until we all knew who they were, so you could put them all together, and then it was funny to see them interact. And then we had Infinity Saga. We're starting over. We have all new group of people, so no, we're not going to have that familiarity with them anymore. It has to start over and build again, and we're going to build that until we get to Secret Wars, and then they're going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like they're going to reset the clock. Like Secret Wars is going to shuffle everything around again. And then we're going to start with a whole new group of characters, and we're going to go off again in a different direction. So I think they're smart on how they do that. And that's why I'm part of the Marvel family as well, is because I can see that they have just the level of creativity, and they have Kevin Feige, who is still over there seeing the big picture and being like, you see this and you see this, but I see the next 7 steps that we're taking, you know, and it all fits together. So if you can hang in there and you can watch, you're going to get the same level of enjoyment that you got with the Infinity Saga in this.
Right.
But trust the process. You know what I mean?
That's what it is. It's going through the process. Yep. I'm just ready for that payoff right now.
I'm just glad I don't have to say it. Laurie, you just keep saying it. I say it too many times until I get blue in the face.
Chef's kiss.
I mean, both of y'all are right. And it's like you said, wait and see what happens. And it's just that, once again, another thing Ross says.
What else are we going to watch?
We're impatient. People are impatient. Like,
so we gonna, I mean, like we get the one-off like House of the Dragon, right? And we can get, but then it's like we get a Lord of the Rings Ring of Power, and we're just like, okay, it's going somewhere, maybe. You know what I mean? But then Marvel is consistently taking us on this journey. So it's like we can watch all the other stuff, but we should watch Marvel too. And then we're just gonna wait for DC to hire some more criminals and degenerates and not turn out movies.
Oh my gosh. I'm a bigger DC fan than I am Marvel fan, writing wise. And you know, I wouldn't say
comic book wise, I'm a huge DC fan. I read much more DC than I have ever read a Marvel. Batman all day long. But when you're watching the movies, it's just like, what are we watching? Like Suicide Squad, come on.
See, I'll give you that.
Back to the whole one-off thing I was talking about earlier. Like, it's tough to do the one-off thing.
Yes.
You know,
And that's what DC's trying to do. Yeah, it looks like.
Well, DC's trying to copy Marvel with the whole Justice League, but they did it the wrong way. They just rushed into the group instead of building all the stories. We didn't even have an Aquaman story before we had Justice League. And it's like we didn't have a Flash movie. We had Superman, Batman versus Superman, and then we had Wonder Woman, right? I think that's all we had. And then we have all these other people that we don't know and don't care about. It's Jason Momoa, so we'll forgive you.
Right.
That's the only reason why he gets a pass. But yeah, it was just like they did it out of order. They're trying to rush, and it didn't work in their favor. But yet they can't turn out a Flash movie to save their lives.
No, they can't.
It's Flashpoint. You should be able to get that one out, man. Everybody wants to see it.
I think Flashpoint needs to be further in a universe when you've already established a universe. It's a good resetting point. But I still want to see a Flash movie. And while I think overall Marvel does a better job of movies, DC does a way better job with television shows, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I mean,
and animation.
And animation. Down. Well, I wouldn't say television shows. I would say definitely animation. Hands down, they do a better job with animation. And they do a better job with comics. I like reading DC better than Marvel.
Yes.
However, saying that, Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel are my two favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I love Zack Snyder's vision. Had that vision been finished, it would have changed things up completely. I've seen the storyboard. I've got pictures of the storyboards. I know it was going to happen, and it was going to be awesome.
My husband was in Batman v Superman.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He was in there a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, he does extra work. Well, he did extra work when we were in Michigan because they like to come and film in Detroit. So like the scene where Superman like lands at the courtyard outside and then goes into the courtyard blows up, right? Mm-hmm. There's that whole group of people with the signs. Mm-hmm. He was like 3 people away from Amy Adams.
Really?
Yep.
Well, now I got to go back and look. And now I've seen what your husband looks like, so you can't see him?
He was like, I'm right there. I'm right. That's my arm. Like, you see, like, this part of his arm. Like, that's it.
I'd still claim it.
Sucks. You stand there all day, and it's like, I'm not even in the damn film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd still claim it. Yeah. But no, I agree with you. I don't think DC did it in the wrong direction. I think their direction got fuddled when they were going, and it would have changed things. If they would have done the exact same thing the MCU did, all you would have heard anybody say is, look, they copied them. Look, they copied them. Even though you can go back in history and look at characters from both sides that have been copied from everybody. Like, I mean, like it's just like a carbon copy of each other. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, I think they even said they made Deadpool like to be a parody of Deathstroke. Slade Wilson, Wade Wilson. Like, I mean, these characters, Thanos and Darkseid, you know, like these characters are made because you can only write so many different things. And of course, if this company comes out with this big badass like this, well, we've got to have one like that too, you know? Right. So, I mean, I don't think there's always copying in between the two. But I feel like they feared that would have been the biggest downfall, would have been everybody's like, oh, you're copying. Yeah, but if you copied him and you did it right, it wouldn't have mattered. You know,
I still would have enjoyed the movie, and I don't think we would be sitting here in the same position where The Rock holds all the power of what's going to happen in the future of Warner Brothers.
I don't mind that. I don't mind The Rock holding all the power because he usually makes pretty good decisions. I like that.
I agree. And I mean, like, people pay him millions of dollars just to market their products. So I think he has the star power to pull it off. I'm really interested to see this movie. We'll see. But it's like, what a sucky place to be where it's like you produce this one last movie and hopefully it'll carry you through to the next year, or you might have to sell off all your properties. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, you heard it here first.
I hear you. Well, they've already got my money. That way. So I've already got my tickets. We'll see what happens.
That's good.
Well, I think we did it, y'all. We covered everything 3.5 hours in. Long show. We had some finales. We had a comic book to cover. We had a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Hey,
Friday.
Look, I forgot to show you what I got today. So my buddy makes hot sauce.
Uh-huh.
Look, it says Path of the Pale Sauce.
Oh, nice.
And it has Big James on it.
That's awesome. You've got some serious product reach.
It'll kill you, man. It has ghost pepper sauce. I'm not even going to try it because I'm not brave enough.
I was going to ask if you were going to open the bottle. It seems like a keepsake, you know?
No, unless I'm on my deathbed and someone needs to wake me up and
I thought you were going to say, and I need to die faster.
No, that'll probably kill me for sure. Like, maybe this is what broke death. We should put that in the conspiracy theory video.
Oh, well, y'all ready to get out of here?
Yeah. This is a fun show, though. I always have fun with you guys. So thank you for having me on.
Laurie, it's always fun to have you on, and I definitely want to continue coverage of everything you got. Anytime you want to come on and just talk, even if you don't want to promote the comic, just hit me up and come on. We love having you on. For anybody who's listening to the end of the show or hasn't been on here before, or tell them where they can find you and your work at, and I'll leave the links for everything in the show notes.
Okay. I'm Laurie Calcaterra, comic book writer and creator of Path of the Pale Rider and some other things. You can find me, Facebook group Path of the Pale Rider. That's the one you want to be in if you want to participate in the shenanigans, right? Yeah, I got it. Sarah knows she's in there. Like we do caption contests, and you can solve riddles to get sneak peeks, and play the game where it's like you type your name and your apocalypse wear into Google and share the picture that pops up, because those are hilarious. We got all that. That's the one where I'm really in and I participate. But we're on Instagram. We're at Path of the Pale Rider with an underscore between all the words. Same thing for TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Path Pale Rider. We got a website, www.pathofthepalerider.com. If you want to hear me and some other crazy people talk, I have a show on Tuesdays called the Tuesday Morning Brew on the Comic Related Madness Network. And it's really like herding cats. We see something shiny and we go right off the rails. We usually don't even have a topic to start with. We will talk about things as they come up, but we just start to tell and we show and we talk about whatever's on in people's mind. There's usually people drawing in the stream. And then if anybody is creating something, like I'm Kickstartering right now, that'll come up. Like if anybody else is Kickstartering, we'll have guests, whatever. It's a crazy show. You should come see. Just bring your coffee and your open mind, because it's crazy. Again, Comic Related Madness Network. You can find that in the Facebook group as well. So I'm all over the dang place. You can go find my YouTube and watch all crazy conspiracy theory videos and watch me murder a honeydew with a stick, because I do that too.
Nice. Good deal. Well, y'all check it out. Got a lot of stuff out there and a lot of places to find her. So definitely, Laurie, thank you so much once again. Anybody listening to the show, you know where to find all of us, and it'll be in the show notes anyway. So Ross, Sarah, thank y'all so much. And until next week, keep pounding.
Bye, guys.
Later.